Hello everybody and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 190. Getting so close to that 200, only 10 episodes away. I'm Annie, also known as Annie Fuchsia. I'm a full-time streamer on Twitch and play a lot of World of Warcraft. Patch 815 is up and running for both EU and NA, and we will try to give you all a breakdown of all the things that you need to know about to be up to date with everything. Today we have a special guest, but before she is introduced, I'd like to introduce my lovely co-host, Perculia.
Hey everyone, I'm Perk.
Oh.
I'm the site.
I messed up for a second, but keep on going.
I know. Oh, hi. I'm Perk. I'm the site director for Wowhead. I'm really busy with 815, overseeing all the guides and news and fun data updates you've been seeing with the new patch. And it's always really cool to do this so we can share all the hard stuff you've been working on and answer some of your questions about what's going on with the site. Today we have a guest on the show, super exciting. We also have another cat guest on the show. Please welcome Hazelnutty.
Hi,
Way.
I'm Hazel. Hello. I'm Hazel. I have paid the cat tax, which has gotten me this spot on the show, and I'm very excited. I'm a full-time World of Warcraft YouTuber, so I make WoW videos on my channel HAZELNUTTYGAMES. We mostly do things like news, and then discussion of the news, and then also some guides for stuff like pet battles and achievements and stuff like that. And I also stream twice a week over on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Look at that cat being so cuddly.
I know.
So sweet. She's been sitting there the entire time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even
Luna
before the
hasn't
show.
been present.
No.
Brightpaw was there and also, decided to play with the monitor and the microphone as usual, then ran off. So
Yep.
we have one good calm cat out of 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Kira is the name of the cat, and it seems like she's very camera friendly. She likes to be.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she loves laps, and normally during the day, if I'm editing or working on a video, I stand up about 30,000 times so she can't be on my lap.
Oh.
But if she hears me talking, that means that I'm either recording something or I'm streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So during those times, I'm usually sat down for a good hour at a time, and then she knows that she can come and cuddle, and I won't be leaving.
Oh.
So I think that's what does it.
So adorable.
But yeah, so before we get into the patch 815 stuff, we wanted to have you get to know Hazel a little bit better. But even before that, which we all forgot to mention, we have a giveaway going on this show, and it was really exciting. We are giving away a Pepe plush this show. Pepe was not in the store for ages, but now Pepe is back, and we all love Pepe here. We all have plushies in the background.
Pepe is back.
I know, we all love Pepe.
Mm-hmm.
The keyword to enter is Birb, B-I-R-B. And you just type that in Twitch chat, and we'll pick a winner at the end of the show. We also want to highlight that if you are new to the show, you can earn points, aka nether shards, just by watching or by doing other things and interacting. And if you earn enough nether shards, you can redeem them for a Wowhead Rocket plushie or Wowhead Premium or interesting pins. So we hope you guys like that. We know last show people were gambling and a few people got really high amounts of nether shards.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff. So have at it.
We had one guy who gambled all his, I think it was 30,000 points, and he managed to double it to 60,000, and then he redeemed like 3 or 4 physical items, which is really cool. Like, this means just being in the chat gives you points for just watching, and then you can redeem them for actual physical things. Yes, that's the Wowhead Rocket.
Yeah.
Luna loves that one too. I think I even tweeted a picture with her on it. It was really cute. But yeah, so it's just an additional way for us to thank you guys for watching and supporting. And I think it's a cool system. I hope you guys like it too.
Yeah. So we'll ask Hazel a few questions about herself. If you have questions for Hazel or about anything else we talk about on the show, like the news, you can pass those on to Sass, and he will collect them for us and let us, we will get to them all at the end of the show. But yeah, just as a general question, we know that you make videos. You've actually even made a few for Wowhead. Just tell the chat a bit how you got into making videos. Like, when did you play WoW versus when did you have the idea to make videos, and how did that all get started?
So I started playing WoW back in 2008. It was right about when the ICC patch dropped, and I played for quite a long time before I started videos. I started those in 2013, which I want to say was sometime in MOP. It's a little blurry, but I started with some pet guides, and the big reason why I started a YouTube channel in the first place was because I had a lot of time. I was staying in the United States, but the visa I was staying on did not allow me to work, so I wasn't allowed to have a job. But I needed something to do, otherwise I was going to go nuts. So I decided to start a hobby that didn't pay, because you can turn on monetization later, but I could build it into something that might work out eventually, and I'm very lucky that it did.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you said you were in the US, so where were you from before then?
I'm from Canada.
You're from Canada. Okay, okay. Gotcha.
Came from West Coast, like Victoria, Vancouver Island, that kind of thing.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, that's really awesome to hear. That means it all worked out. And then you continue doing it, and then you're now making a living off it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
I was terrified about changing countries and having to find a new job.
Yes,
so
of course.
I just stayed inside, and I didn't have to leave. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we all like pets here and plushies and cute things. So tell us a bit, like, what are your very favorite battle pets? Because you were talking about how you made videos getting started with them. So what are the cutest or just most overpowered pets that you like having in your collection or want to have?
I mean, for overpowered, there's always going to be a couple that factor into a lot of pet dailies that sort of get you through most of your day. So you see them pretty often and you get kind of attached. I've got a great Iron Starlet that helps me out almost every day.
The one shots.
But I don't know how cute you can say it is, but it works great. And then for pets that I have out with my characters, I really, instead of just having like one favorite one, I really like to sort of theme them to the race and the class and also the transmog of the character that I'm playing at any given time. So for every alt, I'll like pick out 2 or 3 and have them on the bar. And for my Shadow Priest lately, I've been using the Crimson Octopode because I've got kind of like a red and black a Dazar lore transmog going on my Gnome Shadow Priest. And then the Crimson Octopode is one of the doubloon vendor pets. It's like the inky, like the Octopode fry, but it's like red and black. I love that one. Super cute.
Yeah, I actually...
that one is a good mix of creepy and cute. It fits the Gnome Shadow Priest vibe really well.
It does. That's actually a very good point. So with these battle pets, do you do any... so the part of battle pets that I find the most, I guess, time-consuming is the achievement for PvP. I'm curious, have you done them all?
I have done the ones that gave me pets. There's another one for winning like 1,000 PvP pet battles, and it gives you nothing, and you couldn't.
Fair enough.
I got the stunted dire horn, and then I just really hope they don't add any more unless there's something major that comes to the pet PvP system to make it more beginner friendly. There was a really good period right after they added the family brawler where you had to win pet PvP battles with single family teams.
Yes.
That was really great. You could get people playing these teams that were not just the meta team, and you could run your own team that wasn't meta, and maybe you'd win and maybe you'd lose. And those days are winding down, so I'm glad I got my achievement done.
Yeah,
but
I recognize that so much. I do find myself meeting often the same team as well. So I queue and I'm annoyed with the team, right? And then I concede, I go again, and then it's the same team. Because that's another thing. When that achievement just came out, there was a lot more different people that you could meet as well. But now it's very difficult comps to beat. PvP battles are a real struggle.
A while back on Wowhead Weekly, when there was that speculation article that came out on like a Pokemon Go version of World of Warcraft, I think we were talking about how that could actually be really cool if it tied into PvP, because you could find a lot more people that way, and it could be a fun mobile game as opposed to the current system, which feels kind of clunky and you don't run into a lot of people.
Yeah, and how do you feel about that, Hazel? Or sorry, you keep on going, Perk.
I was going to say that one thing I like what they added to Pokemon Go was they have different leagues, so you can fight with different strengths of pets. So if your pets are like medium level or not the best, you're not going to be placed against the very best people. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
What I think about the Pokemon Go WoW thing, or just about like PvP queue times?
The idea of having pet battles on mobile. Do you think that would make it more popular? Do you think that would sort of reignite the interest for people to play pet battles?
I think there would be an initial surge of interest if you had pet PvP queuable on mobile. I think there would be some big challenges to overcome in terms of the interface, because there are over 1,000 pets. I think we're almost at 1,100 now. So on a phone, being able to pick and choose your team and set up its moves would take some knowing of what you're looking for. It's a little less easy to just browse through. And then assuming that it's just bringing the game as it is to mobile, I feel like you would run into a wall pretty early where people realize that they're just going to lose to whatever the meta is. And then you get the same kind of subset of people that are already playing. So I think it would work, but I think it would also need to come with some kind of either balance changes or something fundamental to the system to shake things up enough to make it so you can capitalize on that renewed interest, because you have some opportunities with like a whole big player base queuing. You have some opportunities to make some changes there. I just think they would need to do both of those things at the same time. And for something like pet battles, that's an action that would draw a lot of criticism. I can already see the Reddit threads if they launched like a big pet battle update when they're not done with things that people would prefer. So
if it was like a separate but related game where there was, you know, little Pepes and battle pets spawning out in the real world, I think that could actually work kind of well for Blizzard, because they have a good infrastructure with chat set up already, and it's really difficult to find raid groups in Pokemon Go. But if you could just, you know, check BNet and meet up with your friends, that could actually go pretty well, I think. I can picture BlizzCon's like, oh, open up your phones. Look, Pepe has spawned. He's the latest pet. I don't know. I think that there could be potential if they try to make it into a spin-off game as a separate thing, because I think the Kotaku article had the speculation or rumor that some of the WoW devs left to work on this WoW spin-off that was bigger than just, you know, porting pets onto mobile. It was like a full-fledged, like, go out in the world and find pets game.
Like an AR game, yeah.
Yeah, so... I think they were speculating Corey Stockton was working on that, and like he's a huge Pokemon fan and also worked on the mob pet battles. And he's still working on WoW, but obviously not World of Warcraft. I think since Warlords.
It's like a World of Craft Go.
Yeah,
go out
Warcraft
and collect
Go.
pets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it could work,
it could be
honestly.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you would have to do something so that content would be soloable. Because at BlizzCon, I'm sure you can find the hugest of raid groups ever to do your content with. But once you go home, especially for people that live in more rural areas, like, it's one thing to find other Pokemon Go players, which is already hard enough. And Pokemon is a bigger franchise.
Yeah.
I think with World of Warcraft stuff, I think if they wanted you to be able to play outside of events like that or outside of California, they probably need to make it so you can solo things or just add more online play.
Yeah, or at community days. That stuff tends to get people together, and that could actually be a way to get people to, you know, get together and like reminisce about how they play in WoW together and have it be more of a social thing.
It would be super cool. Though.
Yeah, I guess if they do have the community thing with you mentioning having more online possibilities would then make it even more important to be able to talk to people who might live nearby. But yeah, in general, you might live somewhere that's very off where nobody's really playing WoW. And in that case, I guess it is important to consider that and make it so you can solo all the content so you're not left behind.
Yeah. Well, they have stuff like in Pokemon Go, there's like incense where if you have a quest, like you can, and you don't have anything spawning nearby, you can just pop the incense and it just makes more things spawn.
Okay.
And even if you don't get a legendary, you can do quests for a week and eventually they'll reward you with a legendary pet. So there are some catch-up things. But you know, obviously it will be like a bigger issue with WoW, like you said, because less people will probably be playing it. But I do think it could be fun. Like even just Pokemon Go started off with not the greatest long-term amount of content, but it got better over time. So I think with WoW, the hype would be like, oh, like every month, like a few more pets you can catch in the wild. And then like maybe 6 months in, they would do a community day, and then like a year and they'd have sorted like the PvP pet battles out, stuff like that. I think that people love the WoW characters so much that if they introduced a few every few months, people would be pretty excited about that and, you know, want to catch them and then, you know, buy the plush of them and so on.
Yeah, that would reintroduce a lot of interest for more plushies too, probably.
Yep.
Like more
Pepe
pets.
is Yep. More Pepes.
Indeed. Yeah, we talked
I name all my Pokemon Go things Pepes. I'm like, oh, like this is the yellow Pepe and the pink Pepe and the blue Pepe. So
that's adorable.
But going back to WoW, we also want to discuss mounts a bit. Annie is huge into mounts, and you know, she's sort of recovering from not getting the Love Rocket this year. So along those lines, you know, I know that you also cover holidays as well as mount collections as well. What are your, you know, favorite mounts or mounts that you're chasing that you really wish you had but you don't have?
Oh man. My favorite mounts is kind of similar to the pet thing, where I really like to pick one that matches the transmog that I'm going with, and that lets you kind of cycle through and see more of them, because it's, you know, you spend all that time farming all of those different mounts. It's nice to get a few of them out of the closet once in a while. I really, really like and ride often the Lucid Nightmare, and then the Bloodfang Widow, the big spider. I love that one so much because it was such a dumb idea. I already knew when I spent the 2 million gold on that the auctioneer mount was going to come out, and I was like, well, I could save this and be like almost halfway towards a useful mount, or I could blow it right now and get a really big spider.
Yep.
And I bought my spider, and I don't regret it.
Spiders are so creepy.
It sticks out a lot. It's very unique.
The animations on it are amazing. Like, I don't like spiders in real life, I should clarify. I have a lot of animals, but none of them are arachnids. But it's just so, I love riding that thing around in islands. You know, they should be afraid of you. You're coming.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. I actually really like the way that you think about mounts. I feel like I should be a little bit motivated to do that as well, because it's true, we have a lot of mounts and we never really go through them all. But if there's an additional reason to fit your transmog, that can be quite interesting. I like that.
I like the random favorite mount button for that reason. Usually any mount that's not just a recolor, I'll set it as a favorite so that the random favorite mount button will pull out something. And that's great because you get to see more mounts more of the time, and then maybe you see one that you forgot you liked and you just put that in your bar normally for a bit. And then it's not great because somebody in stream will be like, man, what mount is that? And you're like, I don't know, it was 30 seconds ago. I'm riding 4 new ones by now.
Oh, I recognize that as well. It happens to me too. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't remember. Can you describe it? Maybe I can help you then. Like, I don't know what mount I was on. But yeah, no, I really like the random mount feature.
Find a purple bird once. There's a lot of purple bird mounts in WoW, once you think about it.
The first one that comes to mind is the guild one.
The guild one, but then there's also the Void Talon one, and then the
the Violet Spellwing.
Then the tier 12 one.
The
fire, like the one that looks like the Void Talon but with wings. It's the meta one from Firelands.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few birds. I like the bird mounts.
Then the Void Elves have their own like bird. The one you get for this scenario. Yeah, they have a purple bird.
I like that one. It looks cool.
Yeah. And we have a cat that has returned. Hi, Brightpaw.
Yeah, still
the only one I'm farming that I don't have yet is the Armored Rizashi Raptor. I don't even want it that bad, but it's taunting me now because it just won't drop, so.
Did you try to farm for the Love Rocket, or do you have it?
I tried. Oh no, I tried to farm. If I had it, I would have a T-shirt that says "I have a Love Rocket." I would just wear it.
You know,
all the time.
I should get that if I ever do get it one day. So I this year I managed to get
SFK. It. Yeah, it's like I farmed SFK like thousands of times, and all I got was this lousy mount.
Yes. And then the specific number would even be more interesting. I think I have over 2,000 attempts on it, and still no luck. Technically, that doesn't make me unlucky because it's a 1 out of 3,000 drop, but it's still pretty daunting. Which is funny because I see some people now in the chat mentioning that I did get the Love Rocket, and I got this gift yesterday, and I opened it, and I see a big Love Rocket as a TCG card. And technically, this is more physical than the actual mount in game, so I can say that I have the Love Rocket. This is how trolly my viewers are. But yeah, I did like it. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so now I have a Love Rocket in the form of a TCG card. So there's that. Apparently that's supposed to make me less sad. I'm not sure if it's working, but yeah.
We are also we're a little late getting these made, but for we have a Wowhead pin program, and our February one will be a pink rocket, which does have parallels to Love is in the Air, because that's also, a pink rocket. So at some point I can give you a pin so you can also have a wearable Love Rocket.
Wow. Perk is joining in now. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to say no. That sounds lovely. Everything that's Love Rocket except the actual mount. Yes, I think that sounds perfect.
It would be great. Next year you can start your streams just like at your Love Rocket shrine with all of your Love Rocket merch. And then just like chant a little bit, and then maybe your luck will be better.
Oh wow. Perk, is there any Love Rocket t-shirt as well, maybe?
That's a finer line because it would be less apparent as Wowhead, and then it could be like, oh, is this like a Wowhead profiting off of Love is in the Air, and it could get weird. But we tried that; it didn't work out. We tried a shirt like that in 2018.
Maybe I'll just get a blank white t-shirt and draw a pink rocket on it, and then I'll wear that every day for 2 weeks as I'm farming it. I think that's going to be the plan for next year. And then I'll get it, hopefully. Maybe.
We'll get like a balloon. Like a baby balloon that's a pink rocket.
Yeah.
Like a baby shower one. Oh.
How many characters did you run?
I ran 46 characters this year.
How long does that take every day?
It took us between, because I'm streaming, I do have the help from people in stream as well who can queue up with me. You know, having a tank and a healer makes those queues pretty much instant. It took me 1.5 hours, maybe up to 2 hours. So it wasn't that bad, considering. And also, some of the characters
I guess if they're on different servers, you don't hit the instance limit.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't. So the people who help me, they do. But because I'm streaming, there's always somebody else who's nice enough who wants to help, so it's not that bad. It's a little bit more difficult when I'm alone, like when I'm not streaming, because then sometimes when people are saved, the queues can take up to 5 minutes or so, which doesn't sound very bad, but when it's a lot of characters, it does add up. But yeah, so it's actually not that bad. I made a promise that next year I'm going for 100 characters. We'll see if I manage to level those.
Yeah, and you have it down to a science where you level the demon hunters up to a certain point, and I think you were going to have more this year, but it got thrown out of whack because they raised the cap at the last minute to be eligible, so you had to level them a lot more than you were anticipating.
Yes.
But you got most of them. You still did a great job, you know, A for effort.
Thank you. I got an A. Yeah, so I assumed it was going to be the same as last year, which probably was just a lazy assumption, like wishful thinking. I thought level 100 would be enough, or 98. So all I had to do was to do the starter quest area for Demon Hunters, which takes less than an hour. But then a few days before the patch or the event, Wowhead came out with an article saying, oh, by the way, you need to be 110. So then I took all of my Demon Hunters through invasions for a few days and managed to get most of them up the first day. So it wasn't too bad, but I couldn't level any more of them. Maybe next year.
Yeah. So talking of current content and collectibles, we were curious what your thoughts were on the state of Bfa and Collectibles. Do you think there's a good range of stuff? Do you think that the models are unique? Are you happy with the RNG of island rewards or any other improvements you think you would like to see with Bfa and Collectibles?
I think this is one of the best expansions that we've had for collectibles, just in the sheer amount of them and also the spread of activities that you can do to get them. It's really easy to look at the Island Expedition mount drop rate and go, well, this is awful. Throwing this game in the river, because they're so rare that they're almost legendary at this point. Like I only know one person that has one. They're really, really rare. But on the flip side of that, you have all of these mounts that are from the Warfront zones that are very easy to get, especially if you have a couple of characters. And you can reasonably expect to have like all the Darkshore mounts or all the Arathi mounts after not too long of just like killing a rare every week. So I think that there's a good range where some of them will still feel rare enough that you're really excited when you get them. And then I think they've done a pretty good job of, not all of the models are new, but there are some new models. And the models that have been touched up have been done so enough that they still feel really fresh. And it's not like some expansions where they just give us like 90 recolors. We have, I think, a better like range of stuff than we had like in Warlords, where you had 5 or 6 models, but then you have them in 10 or 12 colors each. So
yeah, I think Warlords really turned people off to the idea of recolors, but I remember back in the day, like in Wrath and Cataclysm, armor would be data mined, like, 4 tints for a tier set, and people would really want that recolor to make it into the game. And I think that there's more excitement when an unused mount that's super old, earlier than Warlords, does make it into the game, because that model has a lot of significance to it. So for example, the Twilight Drake you get in the Island Expeditions, it's a recolor, but people think it's super cool because it, reminds them of, Cataclysm and Burning Crusade and some of the PvP mounts, and the color is super pretty. So that to me gets a different reaction than, say, a wolf from, Draenor Invasions.
Yeah, I think I think those Draenor mounts were the perfect example of recolors that just don't look good. We have, for example, the Infernals, which are still quite rare. Like we had 2 from Gul'dan, the rare drop and the mythic drop, and then we have the reward for, was it 350 mounts or 400? The blue Infernal,
yeah,
350, yeah. 350, yeah.
350. Like those recolors are okay, I think, because they still look cool. But then that was. And I feel like I'm seeing more of that kind of. It's not really been as bad as it was in WoD. Like the recolors have still looked pretty decent. Like the new Raptor in Arathi Highlands, the Swift. No, what is it called? The albino Raptor.
Skull Ripper.
Yeah.
Or there's Skull Ripper and the albino Raptor. Yeah.
I think that one looks cool. Like I like the color. It's like the white with the red together, and I'm happy with it. Obviously, it's not a super unique mount, but it still looks cool.
Yeah, I'd also say that while there is some definite horse fatigue on the Alliance side, that the 2 new mounts I thought were really clever with the Alliance Wolf and the Horde Horse, taking familiar models and adding some simple armor onto them and making them available for their factions. When you mentioned the Raptor, it came to mind because I was like, oh, Raptor, like Alliance to an Alliance, that's really cool. You have a Raptor, and the achievement they added in 815 to me has the same kind of coolness factor to it. Of writing something that you usually can't use.
Have you guys unlocked that?
No.
No. I've done the 2 war campaigns. Oh, you don't have a horde at 120? Is that what you said? Yeah. I have a horde at 120, but I haven't done all the story quests. So I did complete the war campaign just a couple days ago, but I have not done all the zones. So gotta get working on that.
Yeah, something which was interesting when I was updating all the guides was how much stuff you unlock as you're working towards that. So, if you're going for BFA flying, you'll have to get Lore Master done. If you want a Zandalari Troll, you'll have to get the war campaign done. So if you want to work on these larger attunement things, that achievement will sort of work on itself. And, just always keep pushing to players that the story is pretty different on Alliance and Horde. So you really should do both sides. It's not, repetitive. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my cat is in the way. Right, Pawn? No. But yeah, we're worried. Do you have any thoughts? Do you agree with that, Annie, as far as BFA and Collectibles? Do you think that this is a good expansion for them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, honestly, I felt like Legion was also pretty good. There were a lot of things introduced that made collecting easier in general, and it's something that's being built on even more in BFA. So I'm pretty happy with the whole collection aspect of the game for sure. I think
the secrets, really, when you mentioned Legion, I was thinking of the secrets, how that like just came up out of nowhere, and then that added a lot of hype to people collecting things, and now there are communities of people that help each other get the rare mounts and pets and rare spawns.
Definitely. Yeah, I've seen an increase in community interests like that as well, getting together, farming together. I think just mount farming in general has become a lot friendlier among people. Like, I'm thinking back to when people are farming the Timeless Proto-Drake and everyone had to be selfish, right? Because there's only one drop. But now people are... people who may not have it from back then, I see them farming and they're like making a group for it. And for a split second, I'm like, why would you make a group for it? How are you going to decide who's going to get it? But then it's like, no, like they all get it.
Yeah, like there's like roles in the Discord, like, oh, like get this rule if you want to be pinged when it's up. And it's like, wow.
Oh, wow. Even that.
Yeah.
I think they have made a lot of things like that. Very, very friendly with collecting, which is nice. Makes people work together and maybe not lose as much time as some of us did back then.
So along those lines, I know you also cover holidays in your videos, Hazel. What are your thoughts on holidays in BFA? Because I'm a little more about the updates we've been getting with holidays recently over collectibles. Like, do you think they should be updated more frequently? And what are your thoughts on the kind of role that micro holidays serve?
So I was thinking about this, and the thing that I like about the holiday updates is that there's kind of this feeling of once you've done your achievements and you've got your long strange trip and you've got your purple proto-drake, it's kind of nice to feel done and to have it roll around next year and see all the decorations and be like, I don't have to do all of this all over again. And I think for me at least, they've hit a good balance of they're adding a couple of new things each holiday. So you still can participate and work towards the new things, but you're not necessarily doing brand new activities or doing brand new achievements. You're just kind of getting your new like cosmetic Hearthstone or whatever, which I really like that concept. I'm glad they're doing more of those. And then you can sort of be done again after having done it the first time. And it may be kind of repetitive year to year, but that's sort of what holidays are to me, is they're about tradition, and it's kind of nostalgic to see the same activities and the same visiting lunar elders and the same, headless horsemen over Goldshire. And that kind of tradition is what makes it sort of a holiday for me. So I'm personally happy with it, but on the micro holiday side of things, I think I've just accepted they must not be for me, because I appreciate that they don't make them mandatory, but because they're not mandatory, I'm not doing it. I don't think I've ever actually done a micro holiday.
I don't think I've either.
Like, hey, there's hippogriffs, they're adorable, and I'm like, yeah, probably. They're so far.
I know.
Oh, that sounds like me.
Far away.
Yep.
But you can have Pepe, and you can have Pepe and the parrot and the hippogriff, and then it's like a trio of birds.
Oh,
so my issue with the holidays is that I agree with the pacing of them. It's nice to feel done and that there's other stuff going on, but I think that if we're trying to build on the tradition of it, it could be more immersive, because it took a really long time for decorations to be added to new zones. And I think there's lots of opportunities to have, like, Drew's Store would be really awesome for Hollow's End. It took a really long time for the Pandaren to have a presence with Brewfest. Wintervale was not very cheery, and you could picture, like a cool Tyrion dude being, like a great Father Winter. And I think adding little stuff like that to the newer sections of the world could just, add to the kind of homey, traditional feel. And if they had a few little quests here and there, not really tied to achievements, but just explaining how people are celebrating the holiday in light of the current expansion, that can make sense, because it feels really weird for Hollow's End to like phase back to Undercity and have the holiday all be about the Forsaken and feeling, pumped up and, their spirit. And it's like, meanwhile, Undercity is in ruins. Or the Lunar Festival, it's like you go back and you talk to elders in Darnassus, and there's no real acknowledgement that, Tellers will burn. So maybe the Lunar Festival now is like a really meaningful time to celebrate in light of, the tragedies, and to, preserve their tradition. So I think more decorations and then some quests tying it to the main story could be interesting.
That's a good point. You could also put like the holiday currency on those new quests so that you can go and see what's going on, and you can also get some tokens or whatever for the new pet or the toy.
Very good point. Yes, I like that. Because that was one thing that I found quite boring, with needing to fly around again for the new toys that have been added, the new recolors. I was okay with the Hearthstone, but a recolor of the dragon was a little bit boring. And
that was a lot, yeah.
But I have to do it, right? Because I want everything. So, but if they had a short quest line, which would be updated to what is happening in the world right now, and those gave you the coins too, that would be great. I like that a lot. Very good idea.
Yeah. I also love the decorations they did for old school Hollow's End, like the gigantic pumpkin in Zangarmarsh, or how some of the spires in Stormwind have the pumpkins impaled on them. And I feel they've been a little toned down, and like Legion hardly had anything, but I think that adds whimsy to the world. And if you're a newer player or one that doesn't really pay attention to the calendar, seeing the decorations is a visual reminder that, like, oh, hey, maybe I should go back and, do this fun thing that I've forgotten about as I'm forming my Azerite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As for micro holidays,
holiday decoration that I could take down though.
Oh,
which
one is
Livingston in Strangleburn Vale, there's a tent, and that tent is the inn. So if you want to log out there, then you go into the tent. I do that on a bunch of characters because I run Zulgrub, which is like right there. And it turns out that during Love is in the Air, there's a big reef like right over the top of it. And a male Draenei cannot exit the tent.
Oh no! Really?
You can teleport. You can change yourself to be smaller. You can pet mirror. You can do whatever you want. The only thing that worked was using a cushion toy and placing that outside, and then sitting on it to clip yourself.
Oh my god!
Otherwise, you just live there. And his Hearthstone was set there too. Like, you could have deathgated out, but still.
That's hilarious. Something that just hasn't been considered. So you're just stuck there.
I didn't realize it had a hitbox until I couldn't leave.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Poor
But
Draenei.
yeah, so the thing about micro holidays is that I guess they sort of feel the need that I was talking about with making the world, have more traditions, but they're not really explained well. Like half the time, Blizzard doesn't even put up a post about them, and by the time you realize they're happening, they're gone. Especially the ones that only last for one day, or if they're the day of a new patch, you forget about them. Like I think the Tavern Crawl was the same day as. It's like at the end of January, and that's whenever Blizzard does their mid raid patch. So no one really ever does that. And I think that if they promoted it a bit better, it could, I don't know, add more flavor to the world, and maybe get people doing them. Like I know people love the auction house dance party because that's like very much in your face, but the other ones feel a bit more out of the way and no real hints how to start them or do them.
Like how to access them. Yeah, because that's me most of the time as well. It's like, oh, there's a micro holiday, like where? Like what are you supposed to do to see it? And then normally I ask what Hazel was kind of implying it as well. Like, okay, is there a reward? Like, do I get anything for it? And then usually the answer is no. And I'm like, okay, well, I think I'll just run this raid for now.
Like the Call of the Scarab would be so much more that's the perfect opportunity to make it into, I think, a real holiday, because you could have all these fun items referencing the Encourage war effort. You can ride the mounts around temporarily during the holiday, but it would be cool if the mounts you could get were actually permanent. And they even added a special mount, the black mount, for the people who had collected the AQ mount back in the day. So it feels like it had the potential to be something bigger than just, a micro holiday. It could be a cool nostalgia, like almost like, I don't know, classic time walking type celebration. So I don't know, it would be cool to expand on that. Speaking of time walking, where do you think we're going to go next with time walking now that Warlords dungeons are coming? Do you think we're going to see like classic ones soon, or like more raids such as a Cataclysm raid next, or is Blizzard going to maybe cool it for a bit?
What do you think, Hazel?
With the classic, the obvious thing they got to do would be to decide if it's going to be every dungeon or just a subset of them. I feel like that's the thing that kind of keeps them. I'm guessing that's the thing that kind of keeps them from doing it earlier, because we have had instances of them scaling up those dungeons before, but it's a different thing for a time walking event. And if there's so many dungeons, that's a lot of work to do. They could do a Cataclysm raid. Do people still do time walking raids? They're so
They're quite difficult. They take time.
I feel like the Black Temple one gave you the incentive with the Warglaves.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then Ulduar was like, Cataclysm, I could see them. So on one hand, I'm like, Spine of Deathwing, but then I could see if N'Zoth actually, is related to this expansion, it could make sense to have a refresher on the events of Dragon Soul and going back and doing that raid. But they would have to have some incentive for it, especially since, like the trash before Ultraxian or coordinating Spine of Deathwing just seems miserable in a group.
Yes, I remember those when trying to farm for the mounts, and it was not fun how long it would take to clear that because of the RP.
Dragon Soul and Firelands are both raids that do drop multiple mounts each, so I think those are also raids that people aren't necessarily nostalgic for yet, just because a lot of people still see them every week on Tuesdays.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe they'd want to bring it back for the people that don't care about mounts, or the people, or maybe just putting it back into our consciousness, because if you're farming for mounts, like, you're not necessarily like, oh, like now I am funneling the Dragon Soul, which I, went back 10,000 years ago and imbued with the power of these other, like, you sort of don't really
get it for all.
Yeah, you don't really pay attention to the story. You're just like, oh, like, why are these stupid dragons here? And you're not like, oh, like, this is the dragon flight that was brought back by N'Zoth to defeat us. Like, you don't really think about that stuff as you are doing that, but it's, keeps getting more and more important as Blizzard is dropping story hits. Well, yeah, I feel like Dragon Soul would make more sense over Firelands, although I guess there could be a point with Bastion of Twilight if there's all the island hints that something bad is happening with the Twilight Dragonflight and they're, back in large numbers. That could work with Sinestra at the end.
I like how you're mentioning...
That one would be nice and short.
I like how you're mentioning
that's only
older... Sorry. I think there's a slight delay, so then we end up talking on top of each other. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it's funny how you mention old dungeons and old raids, and not like, yeah, so you think next one is going to be Legion? Because Legion is the next expansion, but it also feels like it just happened. Like, we can't go time walking now. Yeah.
Yeah. I could also pause stop. I feel like this would go over really poorly if they were like, oh, Siege of Orgrimmar and Mr. Pandaria, because you would just get people memeing that, like, oh my god, like, it's SOO 2.0, like, they're adding this so we can, like, be reminded of Sylvanas again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think they would do that now.
I think there could be a rating with leashes, maybe, though, involving Throne and Siege, because the Pandaria one that came out was just the first 3 raids, and there's still, you know, more raids in Mr. Pandaria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. There definitely could be one next for MOP.
So we should talk about the actual news in 815. But if you have questions for Hazel, give them to Sass, and we will get back to them at the end of the show. And we also wanted to take a break, since we're moving topics, to highlight that Haru SOS has redeemed a Wowhead weekly pin with the Nether Shards. So congrats on your new pin.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Physical pin for just watching the show.
Yeah. As a reminder, you can... So she got the Wowhead weekly one, which is a picture of us with Brightpaw in the middle. But you can also redeem it for other pins, like a Murloc pin, a Wowhead plush, a Wowhead premium, and some other cool things. So, you know, keep watching the show, or gamble your Nether Shards, and you could get something for free as well. And we also have a giveaway going on for Pepe, the adorable plush. Type in BIRB, B-I-R-B, in chat to enter. So, patch 8.5.
Wait.
What are...
Before you go on, we also had 2 subscribers. We had Thani Lou
I just saw that.
with the 3 months in a row. Thank you very much for that. And KNX Pisces with the Prime sub as well. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Now we can dive into patch 815.
Yep. Brightpaw is back and eating my hand, so apologies if I make funny expressions. So important things to do in the patch. I think we have to start off by talking about allied races. So yeah, let's talk about first, why are Kulturan humans awesome? Like, what are the things that stand out to you guys with the race war? I guess before that, we can just highlight what they are and how they can be unlocked. So if you do all of the Alliance sort of lore quests, hit Exalted with Proud War Admiralty, and do through the 8-1 war campaign, and then do the obvious recruitment scenario, you can play a Kultiris human who can be many classes, including a mage, which was not the case first at BlizzCon, as well as shamans because of their, you know, connection to the water as tight sages. So those are the basics of the race. And yeah, like, what's the coolest thing? What do you think is the coolest thing for Kultirans in your opinion?
I really like, and I've looked at this more for female than male because I rolled a female Kultiran, but I love their casting animations. I was kind of expecting it to be an alt that I just kind of make just for the sake of making one and just sort of like have one on the screen somewhere. But when she is casting a healing surge, she means it, you know. She's going in with that. She's not kidding around. And I love the gravity and the weight to it without looking like super goofy. I'm really a big fan of the animations.
Yeah, I like how the art stream was all talking about the importance of that, how they wanted to give the vibe that, you know, they were sturdy and you couldn't just knock them over. They could take some hits, and they wanted that personality reflected in their casting. So that's awesome. It seems that what they did was, you know, working.
I feel like with the Kultiran, the thing that I'm the most excited about are the Druid forms.
Oh, yeah.
I need to level a Kultiran from 20 to 110, and I have decided that it's going to be a Druid because of this.
Ooh. Nice.
What do you think of the Kultiran Moonkin form?
Wait, let me show them on the screen as well so people can see them.
It has a dance.
There we go.
So it's like...
Oh, I haven't seen the dance.
Tree ogre. It's like a tree ogre.
It's creepy, but I like it. I feel like it suits the whole Kultiran theme. Even the seal-looking water mounts, like I think all of them actually look really cool. Because that's one thing that I noticed with the Zandalari one, that the Boomkin form looks a bit off compared to the rest of them. But I'm really happy with the Kultiran one. What do you feel about it?
So what I think stands out to me the most is the Kultiran music. I think that's super awesome. I love the melodies. I think we're gonna. Did we make it the intro music? We were discussing making it our
we
Twitch
haven't.
intro music.
We haven't.
Okay, well, we should do that because I think it's so awesome. And that's what the defining factor for me. But yeah, I also like the druid forms because they reflect the story of Kultira. So it's not just like, oh, you know, here's a cat that looks like it's on the docks. It's like, oh, well, this is tied to the Thorn Speakers and Drustvar and the magical woods there and the wicker constructs. So we're going to get these kind of creepy Halloween looking constructs as well. But yeah, I think the Moonkin one, I mean, it's not my favorite. I like the weird cat the most because cats, but I think the Moonkin one is well done. So
yeah, the feral one looks amazing. But yeah, I like all of them. I love the whole theme of the branches and everything, and they all like match each other very well. I'm definitely using that for my alt druid. So I'm pretty excited about that. How do you feel about the forms, Hazel?
My favorite is the water one. The sort of like driftwood walrus thing is just inspired. It's awesome. And then the Moonkin one, I think I just don't like it because it scared me. I created a Kultiran druid just to check out the forms, and I logged in, and it was in the Moonkin form, and it was zoomed really far in. And it spooked me a little bit, and I wasn't expecting it for some reason. I kind of thought they were going to be more like the wicker constructs that you see out in Dressbar. And it doesn't really parse to me because I see the regular Moonkin as like a big owl thing, and this looks far enough. I guess it still has a beak, but it's a little too scary.
It does look spooky. I just
terrifying.
I just looked really close now to get a better idea of how it looks like, and it does look really spooky. I didn't notice that before because I haven't created my character, so I guess there's that. Like I haven't looked at it properly to know if it does look goofy, because like the original Boomkin just kind of looks goofy and this one looks spoopy. So it does definitely have a different taste to it.
Another thing I wanted to highlight was the customization options that were added at the last minute. I think those were really cool, but I still want to see more. Like Lady Ashvane has a gigantic Heart of Azeroth neck, so I'd love to see you know, like that is an actual option, or maybe that's coming to all of us in the future because we all have Hearts of Azerite. But yeah, I would love to see an Azerite weird globule or some sort of anchor necklace because that ties into, you know, Jaina as well. Maybe obviously not the Lord Admiral's pendant, but another type of necklace would be cool. I feel the jewelry is a little on the fancy side when the Kultiran females have like very practical hairstyles and, you know, scars on their face. And I don't know. It would be cool to have some chunkier pieces of jewelry too. But still really happy they added them. Yeah.
It's such a cool concept, and I guess I'm spoiled because I see Kultirans with like these awesome necklaces and earrings that you can mix and match, and then I'm like, well, now I want that for everybody. Now I want jewelry on everybody. Just like add an extra one, it'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like a sense of getting spoiled.
Yeah. Some of the old races, I think, could use a few more options and love.
Yeah,
but,
I agree. I mean, look at the Zandalari Trolls, which we'll get into in a second, how they have their racial, which gives them different options and they can choose between them. Like, that makes my racial feel very boring as a human.
Yep. So yeah, why don't we discuss Zandalari a bit? Just to go over it, even though I know everyone probably don't need this recap, but Zandalari are available when you do all the story quests, including the Zandalar Forever scenario, so not just the quests in all zones, but the culmination of the story. The war campaign through 8.1, and Exalted with the Zandalari Empire, which you're probably doing anyway because you need reputation levels to see some of the special Vol'jin quests. Once you do that, there is a special recruitment quest tied to Talanji and her coronation, and then you can play a Zandalari Troll. So what do we think is noteworthy about the Zandalari Trolls?
Should we start with the druid forms again?
Yeah, we can do that.
There we go. So just as a quick comparison, the Zandalari one is more, you see the bling on them, you see the golden accessories and everything. They're all different types of dinos, I guess you could say. I think they look sweet. The Boomkin one looks very weird to me. I don't even know what it is. It just looks weird.
It's an Arakoa, I think. Like, it has the Warlord's skeleton from like the Skedis areas, but it doesn't have a dance, I believe. So that's kind of weird.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's boring. Are they gonna get a dance?
It's a dinosaur with bird pants.
I don't know.
What do you think of these forms, Hazel?
Oh, I love them. I love that they've set a precedent of druid forms that are not exactly like a bear and a cat and an owl.
Yep.
I love that you've got different animals. I know that that kind of plays havoc a little bit with the ability names. You know, if you've got, I can't think of any specifically, but I don't care. I'd rather be like a
go into cat form.
Pounce as a dinosaur.
But I just love that they can have such a different theme but still being druid forms, and I hope that that is something that they can continue with like other races, either that we already have or future allied races, where you can have druids that aren't necessarily just like a different color of cat and bear and owl. I'm really excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the moonkin form is like a you know, it's like a dinosaur with fluffy feathery bird pants. So.
Yeah.
Great. I've always been a glyph of stars kind of person, and I think that's the only moonkin form I would actually use the form for.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've also always been a glyph of stars person too. I don't really play a druid, to be fair, but when I did play my ults, I wanted to see my transmog, and to see it, I would need that glyph as well. But yeah, I do think it's really cool with these unique forms. It makes the whole thing feel more individual, more unique in a way, because we would see a difference between Horde and Alliance druids, slight color variations, slight fur differences, but in general, all druids look the same once they're in their forms. So it's really cool having some more variety, which is unique to your own race.
Yeah. So I know you want to talk about the racials, Annie, as like a new, noteworthy thing. Because go ahead, talk about why they're so unique and special.
So the Zandalari Trolls have a racial. I don't remember the name of it. Do you know it?
The Embrace of the Loa.
That's it.
Embrace of the Loa. That's the one.
Yeah. You can change what racial you want, choosing between them by going to a shrine and picking the racial that you think you want. So there's a bunch of different ones. There's a healing one, there's a crit one, I think, versatility one. The point is that they have this unique ability to be able to choose what they want to have, and that alone makes me so jealous as a human, because not only do they have the choices, they also have like this visual experience of going there and choosing the one that they want, and I think that's amazing. I think that makes Zandalari Trolls very, very cool.
Yeah.
I did, yes. Apparently, you can only change it once every 5 days. So that does mean that you have to choose something and then you sort of stuck with it for a few days.
Yeah, that's still really immersive, though. I mean, you don't even just go to a drop-down menu and pick it. You have to go to the shrine of the Loa, and then you're like, oh, well, it has to be a few days because, choosing a Loa is a big deal, so you wouldn't just, abandon the Loa 5 minutes later. So there's a lot of thought that went into that, and it does seem pretty exciting next to... I mean, no one else has something quite like that. Some of the classes like Void Elves have a really pretty effect, but no one has something as complex as that racial that can be customized.
Brightpaw just walking across the cables.
Brightpaw is like, I am a Zandalari cat druid.
I think the closest racial to it in terms of complexity is the Mole Machine and uncovering the locations for it.
That's something, which we'll get to because it's amazing for portals. Yeah, with the removal of them.
Yes.
But that's not a combat one, and the thing about Embrace of the Loa is it's not only cool, it's really strong. Like, with a lot of races, you're like, well, I'm going to be a this class, so I want to find a race that has an ability that augments that, and with Zandalari, you just go, I'm going to be whatever class I want, and I'm going to pick the thing that works
fits
with
me
it.
The best, yes.
One of my guildies was asking about it last night, and we were describing it to him, and he kept being like, well, so wait, it's random? We're like, no, you get to pick it. And he just kept not believing that it was an actual thing they were putting in just because it sounds so good.
Sounds too good, yes. That's how I feel too.
Another cool thing I wanted to highlight was the Zandalari Paladins. We first thought they weren't coming, and then they were. So thank you, Blizzard, for actually making them happen, even though there's probably not a lot of them left after the death of Razan. And their mount is awesome. They have a special mount, a golden dinosaur. So the only thing I would say to add is that similar to the Shaman Kultiris, you can't really wear their armor the NPCs wear. So there's no, like the Tide Sage armor you can't get for your own Shaman. And the full Razan set, not all of it is in game. So you can't technically be a complete Zandalari Paladin, but I'm happy you can play one for sure.
Just for reference, this is the mount that you get for unlocking the Zandalari Trolls, and the Paladin mount looks like this. A lot more flashy. It looks really cool. I need a Zandalari Paladin now just for this. And there was...
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I saw a short discussion on Paladins, how the regen ratio that they have, how it goes really well with things like Bubble and Bop, and which makes it even more OP than it already sounds like it is.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say too?
Oh, I was going to talk about bling, but you were talking about something a lot more practical than me.
So I've seen a lot of Paladins actually reroll because of this, changing to Zandalari Trolls, because apparently it's really, really strong.
I wonder what the rest of the arena season will be like, because I think I've seen a lot, especially with PvP, how you use your immunity and then you regenerate to heal up a lot. So I wonder if we're going to suddenly see all these Zandalari Paladins in tournaments all of a sudden, and then if we'll get a nerf. Similar to how like tank trinkets were like all the rage one week and then they fixed them and they went away. But yeah, so bling. I was going to talk about how the customization options, like the Zandalari have so many, even compared to Kultirans. They've got accessories and earrings and tusks. And when we talk about accessories, it's like, here's this gigantic golden like necklace collar thing, or here's
I was gonna
golden bejeweled clips in your hair. Like, it's totally over the top and amazing.
Like, you can't even call it necklace anymore. It's like almost a piece of clothing.
Imagine if those were craftable. Imagine if you could craft stuff like that. Like, they'd have to make it wearable on more races, or at least it would be nice if they did. But if like blacksmiths, or like if the different crafting professions could make cosmetic items that gave you stuff like that, would be awesome.
That's actually a really cool
I love
idea.
that idea. Yeah. Because we've seen Kultira, Zandalari, and I think Macro Orc Female have a few necklaces. But yeah, it would be amazing if everyone else could have access to that. I thought you could like go do low-level dungeons and the recipes would drop for like maybe Black Fathom Deeps would have like a Night Elf necklace drop, or like Blackrock would have like a dwarf themed necklace you could craft for transmog. I like that idea.
I like that. Yeah, some more jewelry. Necklaces, maybe earrings, maybe rings. For jewel crafters, yes, they can make it.
Make jewel crafting worth it again.
Yeah.
That sounds like a campaign slogan.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Yeah. Is there anything else unique about the Zandalari? Oh yeah, their recruitment scenario I thought was a lot more engaging than the Kultiris, because in the scenario, Bwansamdi is like, "Hi Talanji, do you just, can you kill Sylvanas?" And I think that's part of the test. I think the test is for her to resist the temptation, but it's still funny to, it just, the implications are interesting, especially because when you talk to Bwansamdi, Vol'jin is just chilling in the corner. So I think there's like a lot of little connections in Talanji's coronation that will be interesting as we see her grow and develop as a leader, because she's relatively untested right now. So it was good to see her be, challenged a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that cinematic, or wait, it wasn't really cinematic, right? It was more like a part of a quest. Yeah, no, but it was a pretty powerful moment.
Yeah.
Showed some character.
Yeah. So if you're like, wow, I'd love to play this allied race, except I'm the wrong class, what do I do? Blizzard is doing something about that. You can 30% off through the end of the month, and it's for race changes, faction changes, and I believe character change as well. So that is how you can get your Kultiris and Zandalari for cheap, which, I don't know, to me, that just seems nice. Like, I know people are upset, but to me, I'm like, that seems okay.
Yeah, I also felt a little bit conflicted about it, because people are like, oh, they're so greedy. But it's like, it's new. Like, it's new content. The fact that it's new and it's on sale immediately almost feels like a favor. I mean, sure, maybe that means people might buy multiple race changes. But in general, I feel like a lot of people would have changed anyways because it's new. And now they get it cheaper. I don't know. Like, I was thinking about it as well. I couldn't really decide whether it's very good or very bad or just something in the middle. I don't know. How do you feel, Hazel?
Well, I mean, it's cheaper than full price, so I don't like. I understand why somebody could see it and be upset, but I also think that just being upset is a popular thing to be right now.
I get that's actually
I think
true.
that
Yeah.
on top of the angle of being able to race change to a new race, like if you want to be a Cult Tyranna Zandalari, you can race change to them. You'll skip the heritage armor, but still, that's nice. But also, maybe for someone like me that doesn't have a high level Horde character, but maybe I really want to unlock Zandalari or just do the story for 2 sides of every story, the fact that I could faction change for cheap right now, that's also just like a really nice thing to have as an option.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not going to do it.
Yeah. I also want to point out that the Horde Hall of Fame just closed for Dazara lore, which means that as of this week, you cannot get the special mythic achievement. But, you know, maybe your guild was debating, like, should we go Alliance? So maybe the cheaper price is a push to, I don't know, get a unique title that way. I know there's still a lot of issues with faction balance, but, you know, if you were on the edge, maybe this is something that could incentivize you because people have been asking for guild, cheaper transfers for a while. I don't think it will solve a ton in the long term because you want that discount available when progression is happening, and now it's not. But you know, I feel like it could get some people to maybe secure that limited thing that they can't get on the Horde side.
Mm-hmm. I saw a question in the chat.
And it's also something you could do with tokens. Go ahead.
That is true. Go ahead.
I saw a question in the chat about whether you get the heritage armor if you change your race. No, you don't. So that's the one thing that you do miss out on by not leveling. And I kind of like that they've made it like that, because that means that you have a reason to like level through and play through all the levels and not just faction change quickly, or not faction, race change quickly. But for someone like me who wants to complete everything, it does mean that there's a lot of characters to level now.
I'd also want to point
out once your other Zandalari characters will have it, so you can level like an alternate race change your main and be fine.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yes, that's actually what I did with. Well, actually, not my main. So my main is human, and I want the reputation bonus, so I don't want to change that because it makes farming for things easier and faster. But I did level a Void Elf, and then I race changed one of my alts to Void Elf, so now I have 2 of them that can use the heritage armor.
So I was going to say that some notes about things you unlock versus don't unlock. It's not 120 for the heritage armor, it's 110. So you don't have to do as much stuff. Also, you get unique hunter pets if you roll the class starting from level 20 without transferring to it. And the Kultiris hunters get this really pretty like falcon with spotted wings. And the Zandalari hunters get a Direhorn starting pet that matches one of the Mop Direhorns, and the ability to tame the dinosaurs without needing that book from the Isle of Giants, which makes sense because that was the isle that was invaded by the Zandalari in the first place. Well, not technically invaded. You know, they were present on the island, so it makes sense that, you know, if they were mastering the dinosaurs and you were that race, you were mastering the dinosaurs too. But if you transfer at 120, you don't suddenly get this cute dinosaur mount. You have to, you know, do that from level 20.
Yeah. So it's like an extra bonus if you level as a hunter then.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to, is this really spoilers? Like, you don't have to do a raid for it, but I think we should talk about the war campaign stuff that happened.
I wouldn't see it as a spoiler because it's in the game now, so.
Yeah.
It is.
All right. Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about the war campaign.
Yes.
Yes. Jaina and Derek, and then Bane and Sylvanas. Did you want to show some of the cinematic, or have we all seen it? Did we just want to jump it? Okay, let's do it.
Well, I think we should show it. It's not very long,
I think we should show it. Yeah, it's like a 2-minute cinematic.
Yeah.
We could do it.
Let's go for it.
It's good.
Cinematic time.
Lady Jaina, Long has it been since we spoke peacefully in Theramore.
Theramore is gone. You did not ask me here to reminisce.
No. I have come to return one who was lost.
Derek. My own brother. I had thought better of you, Bane. So tell me, is he the Banshee's puppet? Crammed full of blight? Is he the bomb this time?
Yes. That was the plan. But Bane took me from Sylvanas before I was twisted to her will. I'm still your brother, Jaina. For as long as stars do shine.
Why?
The Horde has a sickness in it. We wage war while the Earth Mother dies. We have forgotten what truly matters, and my heart can bear it no longer.
Sylvanas will kill you for this. And she may not stop with you.
No life is worth living if we cannot be true to our nature. I return home to take what solace I can in my family. I hope you take solace in yours.
Bane. Thank you.
And that's the whole cinematic. I got super chills watching this.
Yeah.
That moment when she saw Derek and then she gets so angry, she's casting something, that fury, I was like, oh my god. And then she heard him speak and she was like, oh, okay, maybe he's not been converted. Maybe he's still Derek. Is he?
So I wrote a lot of thoughts on these, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it first, because I could talk a while on this. So, yeah, why don't we talk about what stood out for you guys first? And if there's something I noticed that we didn't cover, I'll mention it at the end of our discussion. So, yeah, so you think, Annie, that Derek is, like, good and she trusts him now? Is that what you think? Because I'm not sure if that's the case. And I think Blizzard did it purposely, so we're like,
yeah,
like, is he good or not?
I'm not sure either, but I think she was certain that he wasn't good at first because she showed a lot of fury. That's at least how I saw the cinematic. And then when he spoke, she kind of showed the soft spot for him, at least, because he sounded nice. I guess he sounded normal. But yeah, we don't really know. Like, maybe he's not himself. Maybe he's already controlled.
I think that she softened when he mentioned the line about the stars, because that was a lullaby that her father sings to her in one of the flashback cinematics.
Yes.
So I think that is a way of being more personalized, so it's not just like a brainwashed, oh, I love you, Jaina, but it's like, oh, here's this very specific, like, personalized thing to show that it's him and not just, you know, a mindless puppet. But I'm still not sure if he's like completely out of the woods or not.
How do you feel about this, Hazel?
I agree that the whole, like, mom's mad moment was, like, real good. That was very well done. She had, like, a good sort of crescendo there and then fell right off of it. I'm mostly just interested to see where it goes. I follow the lore very loosely. I'm more interested to know what it implies for the future of the game, and if they are in any way laying groundwork for a future alliance undead race. That's all I want. I want it very badly. Yeah. And I really hope that that's some groundwork.
So so like, I think this could go in like several different directions, but there is one direction where it could make sense to go in the Alliance Undead, and that's because after the cinematic, there's the line where Jaina is saying that she needs to take him to meet an old friend, and that could be Kalia Menethil, who she just learned about after Dazar lore. And Kalia is hanging out in the Netherlight Temple. So if they were able to get Derek there, maybe he could interact with Kalia, and they could be this sort of separate race of undead. Also, taking him to the Netherlight Temple would probably mean they would check him out to make sure he's not, controlled by Sylvanas. So maybe, he'll be cleansed that way. And his eyes, which were sort of very blank and white now, maybe they could take on, the same glow that Kalia has to be different in the future. So that's one way I can see it working out. The other way that I'm like, about is that we've seen that when the Night Elves are suddenly raised in Darkshore, they, are suddenly like angry that Elune abandoned them and like, oh, we're going to join the Forsaken. And it seems that there's sort of like an element of mind twisting going on here. So we have to wonder if Derek thinks he's in control of himself, but, in reality, Sylvanas can just like reach across with her magical powers and, like possess his mind in an instant. So I hope that's not the case. Maybe that's a threat that we're meant to feel anxious about. I hope they get to the Netherlight Temple and they confirm Derek is fine and good, and then him and Kalia can be part of a new faction of undead as well, because he shows a lot of emotion for an undead, because the undead are like, oh, I wish I had emotion, but I'm dead inside, and he has like a lot of humanity in it sounded very emotional how he was talking.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. An undead allied race for Alliance. Sounds really interesting.
Yep.
Now we have two important characters who could potentially be the important people to lead
it ties in with the old god quote that I always keep talking about, because I'm like every show I'm like, oh, so this old god quote that we data mined, I have a thought on it. So the one for this show is how there's a line about the light forming an alliance with the enemy of all, which could be interpreted as undeath.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting.
So, be interpreted as a lot of things.
Yeah,
I agree that undeath is a really good pick in the cinematic, but there's a lot of places you can go with that.
Yeah, which is why they're so fun to analyze, because you can
use it for so many different
yeah. I think based on the cosmology chart, though, there's like everything sort of cancels each other out and seems balanced, and undeath is like this, aberration that everyone thinks disturbs the balance. So I was going with that, but yeah, you could interpret it as lots of things. But yeah, so some other thoughts I had, I'd like to hear your opinions on is something I thought was an interesting parallel was how in the book leading up to Mists of Pandaria, I don't know if you've read it, I have mixed opinions on some of the lore that's important not being in the game, but so in this book leading up to Mop, Bane thinks he'll do the right thing and tell Jaina that Garrosh is planning an attack on Theramore, except that backfires because Bane didn't know the full plan, and all he did was bring all of the Alliance into Theramore so Garrosh could conveniently drop the mana bomb on top of the city. And I have to wonder, is Bane being set up in a similar way where he thinks he's, being noble and doing the right choice, but then in reality, he's actually, playing into the war chief setup? Maybe she could have thought that Bane was, Bane would not have stood for Derek, and this was a convenient way to get him back and look very plausible. I mean, I just hope he is not trying to be helpful, but actually screwing Jaina over again. And if that's the case, the line about the bomb, which was like so awesome and chills, has even more context, because it's not just like, oh, is this some horrible thing? It's like, hey, Bane, are you trying to be helpful but actually screwing stuff up for me again?
Yeah.
So, but I wish some of that was actually in the game, because, that was a book that came out 5-6 years ago, a really long time, and I think it adds a lot of context knowing that Bane tried to help Jaina before and it went really bad and he just made a mess of things.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to highlight when we're talking about is Derek controlled or not. So the camera is obviously focusing on the knife several times.
I didn't notice that until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
But it's
like
I didn't catch that either.
And it's like zooming in on it, And it's a really strange angle. And I mean, obviously Jaina has, you know, a bodyguard with her and is very powerful as a mage. And, you know, she probably knows what the knife is, but it adds this tension to what is being said. Because it's making you, it's like an actual symbolic, you know, oh, this is someone that could, like, you know, backstab you with a knife behind their back. So I think it's more a symbolic threat than a figurative threat. I don't think, obviously, Derek would not get very far stabbing Jaina with 3 people opposed to him, but it does add to this, you know, sense of possibly impending doom. Another weird thing, which I noticed, was that when Bane was talking about the Earth Mother is dying, Magni's talking about Azeroth dying, and we're like, is that just a figure of speech, or could the Earth Mother be Azeroth? I'm leaning towards it'd be cool if it was, because then that makes the attack on Teldrassil and attacking Elune, who is sort of like the Night Elf representation of the Earth Mother, then it ties that all together, and it adds a lot more significance why Sylvanas has an ulterior plan for attacking Teldrassil in the first place, to, you know, maybe damage like Azeroth itself. So I was like, I don't know, it could be a throwaway line. It could actually be explaining, you know, Tauran religion a bit more and tying it to everything dying. But yeah, I thought that was a neat detail.
It made me think of Azeroth too, actually, when I heard it first. Yeah. Because Azeroth is dying, or at least suffering, with all the Azerite and everything. So it makes sense. So even if it's not intended to be about Azeroth, it was definitely a play on the words to make it sound like Azeroth. Yeah,
and they're also both women, like, you know, female-inspired deities as well. So it's not just like, oh, you know, like the Lord of Light is dying. It's like, oh, like this, you know, Azeroth, this motherly figure, and the Earth Mother are both dying right now. Like Magni goes to Mother, like he is this parallel of, like, you know, these family,
all these mothers. Yep.
Another cool thing, because I talked about liking the cool Tears music before, so I had to notice the ways in which Daughter of the Sea was used in the cinematic. And I think it works on several levels. There's different levels of symbolism there. So the first obvious one I noticed was around 208, when Bane is talking about, you know, life having to be worth living. And you hear those pipes, and that's like a Tauran interpretation of Daughter of the Sea, which I think is really cool, because it's going kind of full circle for Jaina's arc. When we first hear Daughter of the Sea, she's reflecting on her people hating her and guilt over maybe betraying her father. And, you know, she's going to get his ship and be fired up to, you know, fight back against the Horde. And now it's like, wait, Jaina, like, you know, maybe, like, the Horde is not all evil. Like, maybe things are not black and white. Like, maybe, you know, your older way of life of trying to be more peaceful and work together, like, maybe there's something to it. You know, like a Horde character having Jaina's, like, very much like, you know, evil Daughter of the Sea. I think maybe it's like you can sort of hear the wheels turning in her head that she should rethink her, you know, more recent philosophy.
Definitely, because she's shown so much anger towards the Horde, and seeing the possibility of Bane actually trying to help is definitely going to make her start thinking about, like, maybe there is a good Horde after all. Maybe this isn't all of Horde, and then she has to rethink it all.
I also wanted to go back to the line about the stars in the sky, because that was the line that we first hear when Jaina is saying goodbye to her father in the flashback, and then the flashback turns into a nightmare, and then, you know, she goes to Kultiris and she's exiled. And I'm thinking about the line because that's when Jaina really softened. And you're like, oh, well, Derek has to be sincere because he said this very touching line to Jaina. And in that sense, her story is also going full circle, because when we first hear the line, she's saying goodbye to her father, who died when she was a child. And now, you know, we're hearing the line again as someone who was dead in her family, also well-loved, is now returned to her. So I just think that's neat. The first time it's associated with someone leaving, and now the line is said by somebody returning. So it feels like a lot of some of Jaina's past regrets are being addressed or turned around. I just hope she's not going to die soon. Like, oh, you know, Jaina has this nice arc. Like, everything is getting, you know, like, you know, put back together for her. Like, you know, her purpose is over. I hope she stays around. I hope this isn't like, oh, there's only so many parallels and cinematics we can do. Like, she's done now. I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, no, don't say that. I've actually really grown to like Jaina a lot in BFA,
Yeah.
so
Aww, yeah.
we don't want to get rid of her. We want her to stay. We want to see what's going to happen.
Something that made me super nervous, though, like, I know it's aligned to Daughter of the Sea, but I was really nervous when they're like, oh, for as long as there are stars in the sky, because there was that BlizzCon interview where Blizzard was saying, oh, if you ever see like the star, the Pantheon, the star of the sky, if it ever goes out, we're in big trouble. And there's all the talk about, the circle of stars and, things with the sky and night. So I hope it's not like, when everything goes to hell with the old gods, bad things will happen to Derek or Jaina. I hope that's not a hidden subtext.
Yeah, no, I hope so too. Or I hope not as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cool. You can view it on so many levels. Like, oh, is this like a character arc for Jaina? Is it really cool that Derek is back? Is it cool, but maybe something bad will happen in the future? Is this, a sad cinematic? Is it positive? Like, it's, I don't know. I think it works on a lot of levels. I think it's really awesome. I wish there was obviously more of them. I just wish the quest leading up to them. I liked how in Suramore you felt you were exploring in a city, and it felt very immersive. But sometimes with the quest in BFA, you feel like you're in a single player campaign. It's like you're doing the thing, but you're sort of like watching a movie or reading a book. It doesn't feel like you're, going around the city. Yeah, so it would be cool, but I mean, that's not the fault of cinematic. I would be cool if the story was explained in different ways, sort of as impactful as the cinematic through gameplay, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe you would be doing stuff in Orgrimmar, learning what different people think of Bane or Sylvanas, or, things in Kulturas, hearing what they believe to be changed with Jaina, stuff like that, leading up to it.
In the war campaign part 2, there was a bit more on Bane and Sylvanas, right?
Yeah. So yes, before we move on, was there anything else with the semantic we wanted to discuss, or are we all, good there with it?
I think
I'm really interested to see what Anduin does when he finds out, because he's had his past of working with Bane specifically.
Yes.
I think he's
yeah.
And Jane is a powerful figure, but Anduin's technically the one making the decisions. So I'm interested to see how this influences his direction in the war going forward.
Yeah, especially, I mean, that's a good tie into the part 2. Just to recap, Bane and Anduin were really good friends. Actually, at one point in Cataclysm, Anduin gave Bane a weapon as a sign of loyalty, which Bane then returned feeling dishonored, and mopped with, obviously, the bomb blowing up, that whole attack. And then Sylvanas was blackmailing Bane in Before the Storm not to talk to Anduin anymore. And he broke off part of his tusk as a sign of honor and sent it to Anduin, being like, hey, like, I can't talk to you because the war chief is being crazy, but like, I really respect you still as a leader in person. So they're good friends, and you have to think, based on what we're going to talk about next, that if Anduin gets word of this, that's not going to be good for Sylvanas. He's going to mount some sort of assault, or maybe that's even what she wanted, to like draw Anduin into a trap. Anyway, so
even more angles.
Yeah, what actually happened in the war campaign part 2? Do you want to show this cutscene or not? I feel like we've seen it already.
Yeah, we've seen it. We can give a quick recap.
Yeah. Basically, it's surprise, you did not fool Sylvanas. You are basically put on trial. So Zealing, who aided Bane, is basically shot instantly by Nathanos, because I don't know, that dude is just so powerful and everywhere. I wish he was a little, like, less OP, especially because he was in the big forest in past expansions.
I also find him so creepy.
I know, but it's like, he just, like, shows up and he just has his bow and like shoots the undead, and there's like 20 people surrounding him, and they're just like, okay. Yeah. But basically, all the leaders are gathered, and Bane admits to that he calls Sylvanas out for being dishonorable, and he is arrested. And it's disconcerting for a few reasons. One is that Sylvanas knew we were up to this. If you had sided with Sylvanas in the Sourfang questline, you have a different quest dialogue option where you basically hint to Nathanos that Bane is planning something, and they're going to pretend to let him get away with it, but then capture him. So to me, that demonstrates that members of the Horde support Sylvanas, that there are spies that are, you know, she has some loyalty. It's not like a fringe movement. And then all the faction leaders are really scared to do anything. Like, none of them, they look very distressed. Like, there's a close-up of Rexar who looks really upset, but they don't actually strike Sylvanas down. And when Bane is arrested, all of the guards are noticeably of different races. It's not like Garrosh, where it was, you know, orcs are amazing and everyone else was terrible. It's showing that she has support among races. So it's like Bane did this, you know, grand thing that maybe is going to backfire on Jaina. Now he's arrested, so he's out of the picture, and everyone else is terrified to act out in a similar way because, oh, look, they could be arrested too and then not be able to do anything good in the long term. So all really bad. So yeah, what are your thoughts on all that?
You mentioned Sarfang, which makes me think, how will he tie into this?
Yeah, where even is he? Is he finding Thrall somewhere?
I don't know. Like, is he gonna come back? Is he gonna help Bane, or what's going on? Is there going to be some kind of Anduin with Sarfang trying to help Bane?
It's like Anduin, Sourfang, and Vol'jin can like get together and be this like weird trio of like Alliance, Horde, and like Shadowlands spirit and work together. I don't know. That would be kind of fun.
It feels like such a mess with Sylvanas.
Yep.
I was also surprised that nobody stood up to her. It seemed like they didn't. I'm struggling to understand the motivations of the other racial leaders in just letting all of that happen.
Yeah.
I haven't played the Horde side, so I might be missing something. But
there's
a lot of people that I feel like would have sided with Bane. Maybe they just don't want to get shot on the spot.
Yeah. So for the Horde, not for the Alliance, after you see the cutscene, you can talk to all the faction leaders, and they all say various things. All of them are annoyed with Sylvanas, but they're concerned that public sentiment isn't on their side, or that if they act now, it would end really poorly for them. Some of them are even concerned if they should join the Horde. Some of them, like High Mountain, are like, why are we here? Thalystra's like, oh, this is reminding me of when Elyson betrayed me. I should talk to Lorthamar to see what we can do to help. And Lorthamar's like, what Bane did, just put him in prison. Like, I don't want my people to be, you know, killed by Sylvanas because of this. And the only one that is positive is the Maghar Orc leader. She's like, oh, you know, Bane was a traitor. He was not loyal, which is really interesting and weird because she wasn't around for Teldrassil. Like, she was over on Draenor. And it's so weird how she's taking Sylvanas' side. And we've seen in the Draenor scenario that Uriel was, like, you know, very weird and fanatical, and now it's like, oh, well, you're not really cool either, you know, Gayara. So I don't know if they're trying to make the AU people just seem annoying and disappointing in general, but yeah, her reaction was a bit especially because, you know, Sourfang's all like honorable orc, and she has a very different definition of honor. But yeah, everyone was basically like, oh, this is bad, we're terrified to talk out, we could just be imprisoned and then not be able to do anything. And Rexar claimed he's going to tell someone, which I don't know, could that be Thrall? And Lillian Voss was like, you know, I thought I was trying to help Forsaken because, you know, concept of free will, but there's clearly not free will going on. And Garona had a line. Garona was really weird in the earlier war campaign because she was all, like, really suspiciously pro-Horde whenever you talk to her. And you're like, come on, this doesn't make sense. Like, you are friends with both factions. And she revealed that she has a plan in the future, but Bane acted too soon. And we have to remember that she is a member of the, you know, rogue order of the Uncrowned, and their goal is to overthrow, you know, corrupt leadership. So maybe she's planning something. But yeah, we see the characters have a bit more depth, that they're not all, you know, Sylvanas sympathizers, and some of them are just playing along to avoid death, you know, and also to protect their people.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded us of that. I just remember those conversations as well, because I think we went through some of them, and it is true that it's not all like for Sylvanas necessarily, but it's just maybe not the right time, or maybe a bit of fear, a bit of not being able to speak up, at least for the moment. But there might be more people later. Like for now, it might just be Bane and Starfang, but maybe there'll be some more powerful people who are also on their side.
It could lead to, if they ever do a faction breakdown, this could lead to it, like, you know, in the cinematic, Anduin is saying was like, I want to fight back against Sylvanas. Thank you for letting me live, Sourfang, but I can't do this alone. Like, I need your help. So maybe that could happen on a larger scale where it's like, okay, Lorthamore, like, you don't want to make a stand and then have the Blood Elves be attacked, but what if, you know, you work together with Anduin and Sourfang and Thrall and Vol'jin, and, you know, it keeps growing. One I thought was really interesting was going back to Talanji and how she's been untested. She's not trusting Sylvanas, but her line was super naive. She's like, I hope Bane gets a trial. And it's like, I don't think Sylvanas works that way.
Is that what she said?
Yeah. So,
yeah, because she's still new to everything, right?
Yeah, and she's like, you know, like, Sylvanas protected us from those Alliance. And it's like, well, she might do something. She's using you. Like, you know, she doesn't actually, like, value you as a leader or a person. She wants your navy. And, you know, if you get out of your place, something bad might happen to you. So, yeah, it's, I think we're going to see some more character development for Talanji because they've been setting her up as kind of like a younger Jaina with, you know, the island princess ruler that, you know, has like magical, command over magical forces. And, you know, the father that was sort of political and not very savvy dying. But like Jaina's been through a lot and she's made mistakes and she's been tested, and Talanji has sort of not really been through as much stuff as Jaina, or like things are almost going, obviously things aren't going perfect for her because, you know, her father died, but it seems that whenever she puts her mind to it, things just go awesome for her. Like, you know, like she blows up the Alliance fleet. Like when she takes over the troops, then they push Jaina back. So I feel like she's going to need her moment of questioning her judgment and, you know, getting smarter as the political stakes get higher. But yeah, so for other things besides the war campaign, there are some other story quests that are available. They're all kind of short, but it's nice to have the flavor in the game. To run through them quickly, there is a Magni quest, as we mentioned before. Azeroth, surprisingly, is not in great shape because we keep using Azerite for horrible things. And really? Magni is like, Mother, I need your help. And she's like, take me from this corrupted facility and I'll totally hang out in Silithus and like nothing bad will happen with my corruption. And they basically move her there, and the mother's like, hey, Magni, did you know that your presence means Azeroth is doing badly? And he's like, yeah, that's why I'm here, actually. And they just sort of go back and forth a while. But the interesting note is that if you do the quest line, you upgrade your Heart of Azeroth by 10 item levels. That's not, you know, power levels. That's gear item level. And, oh yeah, they talk about 77 cycles, which was Legion had a few times where the patches were 77 days apart. So is this like a hint that the patch could be coming 8.2 on May 28th? So, I mean, if you interpret it literally, that's what it could mean. That, you know, hi, come back in 77 cycles. I'll give you the next part of the quest line. Yeah. So I think it could refer to that.
I think
it could. It could also just be a fun Easter egg. There's a lot of the 77th hero crafting going around, so it would be a fun thing for them to poke fun at. I don't think that they're necessarily going to hold a patch schedule to that because there's a lot more that goes into it, but it would be neat.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that would be too early for 8.2?
I think if anything, it's a little on the late side because we're getting Crucible of Storms, which is a very short raid in mid-April. So I was thinking it could be slightly earlier in May because I'm sure they're going to stagger it. Like, I'm sure the first week we're not going to be like, oh, look, Nazjatar. So maybe the first week it would be like, oh, you know, there's rumblings in the sea. And then the second week something else happens because there's still, I feel there's still a missing piece getting us from Crucible of Storms to Nazjatar. And we need that in-between stuff happening, which to me needs to happen in May. And then that could still set it up for like a July raid. I think July would make sense. Also in the PvP blog, they talked about 25 weeks of loot. and 25 weeks from the start takes you to mid-July. Which could also just be like, oh, the season's extra, we need to add a few more weeks in, but the past season was around that period, so it would make sense for it to be that long.
It's an interesting timing considering Classic was promised for the summer as well.
Yeah. Well, Q3 is technically
still summer.
Yeah, like that's super late. But yeah, we'll talk about Classic news a little in the show, but we still don't have anything like a beta date or anything, so I don't think Classic's in May. Like, I don't think that... Yeah.
When they said summer, I think they're pushing it.
Go.
Yeah.
I think we're talking August, September.
Yeah, I think like August 30th, 11:59 p.m. to sneak it into Q3. Yeah.
That's what I think too.
Another thing that we all like pets here, the Hati quest is available for hunters. You can get your puppy back from Legion. We were horrible to the puppy and blew him up as part of using our artifact weapons to absorb Sargeras, but Hati still loves us and lets us put him back together again, and then we can have a hunter pet puppy, as well as really cool items you can buy that do things like put a fez on Hati or turn Hati into a mount and all sorts of cute things like that.
Yeah, I think having Hati as a mount is really cool. I'm sure that's
the cutscene is so sad. Like, it's obviously not, epic cutscene, but just when Hati comes up and like head bumps you, I'm like, oh, that's like right paw. I love the cat, even though Hati's a dog type thing.
I love the cat.
So
all animal cat now.
Yeah, everything is a cat. Bright Paw is a dog cat. Or a cat dog. Another cool quest. Oh wait, we summoned him. Hello, Bright Paw.
Oh, he knew you were talking about him. It's like, wait, you're not talking about other cats? How dare you? Yes. Another new story quest, which we discussed last week, is the new quest for the Brawlers Guild. It's a new murder mystery that you can solve, and with this there's also new bosses for you to fight and new rewards, such as the new Bruce mount. And I've seen quite a few people actually going there, going on to the fights and trying to get them all. I haven't tried myself, but I will definitely do that soon as well. Have you guys really had a chance?
So we did this on the PTR, and the murder mystery is really funny because like the quartermaster dies and there's a trial, and like all the enemies are also at the trial, so you see what they're doing sort of in their downtime, like you're all friends and hanging out at the trial. And there's a really interesting twist I like, because someone who we thought was friendly maybe isn't friendly after all. And I feel like Hazel would like this because we're talking about Void Elves. Not gonna say anymore. I feel like people probably want that still for themselves, but yeah, it's lots of interesting implications with who is behind the murder mystery potentially.
But yeah, Brawlers Guild in you go to Stormwind, you go into the deep tram area, and that's where you can find it. Also, a little note, war mode should be possible to use in there, which means that you'll have all of your PvP talents as well, which can help you kill the bosses.
Blizzard also revealed that the invitation system, if you have an invitation previously, you don't need it again, but they revealed that if you kill enemy mobs on the opposite continent in BFA, you can have it drop, and there's a dealer patrolling around the Brawlers Guild that periodically sells the Brawlers Guild invitations as well. I know that was a big mystery on the PTR, but yeah, it seems to have been solved, and people have Wowhead comments explaining that better than me on how to get it.
A question in the chat, and a very good point. I'm very ignorant, and I forget that Horde have their own place. Where's the Horde Brawlers Guild?
It's just in Orgrimmar. It's not like a deep room tram or anything. It's just like a building. I think it's by the Monk area and Magheart Orcs.
Okay, it's in the Valley
so like,
of Honor.
All right. Well, there you go. And yeah, Luna just made an appearance for a second.
Oh,
and she's gone again.
Oh, Bright Paw, come back. There we are. Come on, baby. Come on.
Oh.
I'm trying to have him jump up and get the look, baby, there's feathers. Speaking of feathers, another quest coming in 815 is feathers. If you read the book Before the Storm, you know who this character is, but not all of us read. So as a recap, there is a subplot in Before the Storm going over a goblin and gnome couple that have been forced to make Azerite experiments together for Galeric, even though they hate working for him. They used to be married, broke up, and now are developing feelings again. And their anniversary present was a mechanical parrot called Feathers. We thought he had exploded in Before the Storm, but he is alive and well. And as we track him down, that leads us to realize that the couple is also alive and well. But they don't want us to know that they exist. So, because, Galliwix wants to kill him. And, obviously them being together and knowing how to use Azerite is an issue because they don't want to use it for evil. So they're trying to stay hidden. So basically they give us Feathers as a present and drive off into the sunset on their, motorcycle. Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure we will be seeing a lot more of them in the future, especially with, Mechatork encased in ice and us going to the Mechanome area and Mechanon in patch 8.2. So it's cool to see them back.
Mm-hmm. It would be nice to see more of them, but I would also not mind if we never see them again, and I can just believe that they're happy somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
It's just so cute. Seeing them get work through their stuff in Before the Storm, and a lot of characters that come back, especially couples in this game, don't get happy endings. So I'd like
that is a good point. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to hear from them again because they're escaping so well, and they're just having a little farm somewhere with mechanical parrots, and that's the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Blizzard, please leave them alone. They're happy where they are, okay?
Before we move on to the next part of the show, we wanted to just remind people of the Nethershard shop again and thank people that subscribed. So I don't think we have any new Nethershard item purchasers, but that's still cool. Someone, got an awesome pin before. Also, Sass is reminding me, if you have any questions for us, send them over to Sass. We will try to answer them. And we have a giveaway for a cute Pepe plush with the keyword BIRB, B-I-R-B. Type that in chat and you could win an adorable little Pepe. Mm-hmm. And I will let Annie read the subs and bits.
Yes, we had a resub from Willow Wisp 2 months in a row. Thank you very much for that. And we also had a 9 months in a row sub from Rada Kurth. So thank you to both of you guys. And we also had 500 bits donated from Nick Townbro. So thank you for that support. And, apparently we had one more sub. Glenn Ninek is another person who subscribed to the channel. So thank you guys. Awesome. Thank you for supporting Wowhead.
Awesome. So back to the news. Another thing we wanted to highlight is the tools of the trade. Profession questlines, if you have a crafting profession, not a gathering one, in 815. We've talked about these a lot before. Are there any that stand out to you as being interesting or particularly fun? I have my favorite, but if you have any strong feelings, you can share them. And in this case, I feel that most useful could be different than most fun, because some of them have wildly more useful effects, I feel, than others.
Oh, hi Luna. She made an appearance now. Aww. Hey. But yeah, Hazel, you can go ahead and talk about the profession stuff if you have any thoughts on it.
The only one that I have and probably will get for quite some time is the Enchanting Rod. And that one is one of the ones that's really practical because you get more mats from disenchanting stuff, which is great. But the active effect, where you consume a veiled crystal to get a combat assistant, is something that I will never ever do. Maybe once just to see what it looks like, and then never again.
That's a kind of a steep price.
There's no buff that's worth that much to me. I don't even like using combat pots because I'm like, this is a goodbye 500 gold button. I don't think so.
Consumables are expensive.
The alchemy sphere looks like the most fun one to me. I like the randomness of having it transform into one of a couple of different things and then getting to use that for an hour and try again. I think they look genuinely useful, and then being able to just find cauldrons and get pots out of it is kind of neat too.
Yeah, I would say I like alchemy because it also highlights that Silas Darkmoon is doing something, and the Darkmoon Fair is super creepy, and he's involved, with the guy that turns into the wicker beast of the forest, which sounds really bad. So it's like, oh, he was involved in this recipe. This is creepy. But I think my favorite one is the tailoring one because it works on a few levels. The questline's really interesting because the Infinite Dragonflight are coming back, which ties in with like, oh, everything N'Zoth was involved in is coming back in BFA. So I like it with that angle. It reminds me of the Chromie scenario because you see the NPC dying in different time ways, and it's just fun thinking of like alternate realities. The item itself lets you collect more cloth from the current expansion, but also past ones. So that seems like it could be good for making gold. Like we were getting, like the daily transmutes from Mop that were really difficult, to make all these old materials. So that seems neat. And my favorite part is that it can spawn a vendor that sells recipes that you can no longer get, like the Dire Maul tribute run, not Thimblejack recipes. So I think that has like a really good mix of flavor and practical stuff and a compelling story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say that I agree with alchemy being interesting because of the 1 hour thing where you can get different things for it. And in terms of my own sort of collectionist self, my collection interest, I'm really happy about the tailoring one. So that means I could go back and pick up some recipes that I may have missed from the past.
Yeah. I wish there was more of this though in BFA, because Legion had a ton of like lore, like interesting quests where you were getting all sorts of weird things, like you learned about like the origin of Blingtron and all sorts of fun stuff. And BFA felt very kind of and with professions. And I know people aren't happy that like the engineering one seems kind of boring, or like blacksmithing is like, just like oh, like repair and piece work. So there's definitely some imbalance between them, but I think more, if they keep adding more and more profession stuff, if one item is like a clunker here and there, it will be balanced out by multiple cool things that professions can have. Hopefully in the future, fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah.
I think that might have been enough time for her. Let's see.
Oh.
I had to grab the... She comes to me, she just looks at me in the eyes, and I know that she wants to sit on my lap, but it's just not comfortable. So I have to grab this little pillow together with her little blanket, and that's when she sits on it. But now she's moved. I think she's still deciding what to do.
Aww. Bright Paw went somewhere, I can't summon him. Bright Paw, come here, baby. Don't you want to be on camera? He's like, no. But yeah, so moving on to some other things, not too much to say about Tools of the Trade besides, we did them all on the PTR. Like, my coworker was amazing. He just pumped out like every character max level, max professions, did all the dungeons, farmed all the drops. So that was a huge, amazing help. Because a lot of those items are from obscure dungeons and we had to like do a lot of guesswork. So if you need any help, we have that all sorted out for you. But the next topic was kind of interesting. There was Undocumented Changes, and while I thought the patch notes were better than usual in explaining things like the class changes or UI changes, there were still some, notable things that didn't make it into the notes. So I compiled a few, but if there's others you found as well, feel free to chime in. There is a Stan Lee tribute in Stormwind. It's Stanley. He's walking around the keep, and he exclaims "Excelsior" at you, which is a really nice tribute, I think. I just hope the Horde, it would be nice if the Horde were not able to kill him, because that would be sad.
Wait, are they able to kill him?
I thought they were. I heard complaints about that.
Really?
I mean, we're all Alliance here, so I don't think any of us are like LFG.
I have not tried to kill Stanley.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually looking for Stanley, and I couldn't find him.
Huh. I can look this up as we're doing this, but yeah, another thing that I think we're all happy with here is that the moose mounts can now fly.
Mm-hmm.
So this includes the Legion, Glory of the Legion one, as well as the Archaeology one.
Someone in chat mentions that he only spawns occasionally, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. I'm checking the Wowhead comments to see if they're like, oh, I was saying hello to Stanley, but then the Horde happened. Yeah, I don't see anything quite yet. So
maybe it's just a rare occurrence then.
Yeah. But yeah, another thing is that the Blood Elf eyes glow a little differently now in the patch. At first I thought this was a bug, but it's actually intended. Maybe they're just updating effects. I don't have a strong preference either way, but maybe like a huge Blood Elf fans in the chat. Maybe you guys have a preference. But yeah, I'm pretty indifferent to it. I'm just like, okay, you know, they're trying to up their graphics. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the same. I think it does look a little bit better, but I don't really play a Blood Elf. I don't really stare into Blood Elf face that much, so I'm not sure if a Blood Elf would think different, but I think it looks like an improvement.
Yeah.
Brighter.
Mm-hmm.
This next one I really like.
I wonder if the eyes generate light. I wonder if they reflect off of like a helmet or something.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a fan of the golden eyes. They look cool.
Yeah, the next change I like, they talked about, usually Blizzard doesn't explain every little item in a holiday, but since they talked about everything else with the Darkmoon Fair, I put this in as a change that they didn't document. In addition to the roller coaster and the battle pets, you can fish up severed fish heads from the Darkmoon Fair and wear them as hats.
Yeah.
And they are conveniently blue and red, you know, the colors of the Alliance and the Horde, and we have all these, you know, nice little whispers and rumors about, you know, the fish and creepy things and experiments on Murlocs, and the Darkmoon Fair is in a creepy, weird place anyway that may not even be on Azeroth since it's not on the map. So this just adds to the general, like, when you actually sit back and think about the Darkmoon Fair, you're like, wow, there's a lot of really strange stuff at the fair, and that just adds to the general vibe. Plus, like, can you picture doing, you know, like the Bane cutscene, and you have the fish head on?
You would see that in the cutscene, right?
Yeah, you would see that in the cutscene.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a very Shadow over Innsmouth Lovecraftian kind of feel to it, which is fun just because, like you said, the old gods have a lot of Lovecraftian influence too. Mm-hmm. But it's just so gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the Darkmoon Fair like just has this like influence. It's like, oh, why do the battle pet trainers have squids with them? You know, why does the card dealer talk about, you know, serving the master? Why is there a gigantic blinking eyeball everywhere? That's, you know, why are they the same colors as the old god eyeballs? Why are there dead spirits? Why is there a strange black forest that's sort of dying and has, you know, individual trees drawn on the map? Most forests don't really have that. Like all these weird little things at the fair.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this was also kind of cool. Could be nothing, could be something. So the Magcar Orc NPCs at the Hall of the Brave now have dialogue options. I think practically, like, Blizzard was talking about having the Magcar plan to come later in the expansion, and then they bump them up. I think they forgot to add these, you know, when they release, and they're like, oh, oops, lines. Look, they have lines. But it is interesting how they're not just like honor, loyalty. They're like, oh, you know, like, is the war chief dead? You know, I hate the Lightbound. Are they here? Like, it's referencing the conflict that was going on between the orcs and the Draenei, who were like really fanatically into the light, apparently. So maybe this opens the way for a future story with them, or maybe they're just like, you know, it seems like really juicy for them not to do anything with, especially because Blizzard is so into like, how can we tie things back to past expansions and use, you know, art assets again? It would be weird just to be like, oh, Draenor can forever be untouched because, you know, it's done. So I don't know, maybe it could come back in the future. I'd like to learn more. It definitely seemed, it's sadder, but it seems more interesting than how we ended in Warlords, where it's like, and now we're all friends, the end, we're leaving. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe some of the content they cut from Warlords could, I don't know, like find its way back in some reimagined way if we, I don't know, had to do stuff with them with the light being weird. We'll see.
I saw a comment in the chat. Sorry, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's interesting that we're having all these ominous things that like the old gods and like their shadow magic, and then like the void is evil, and then on alternate Draenor, it's like, oh, the light is out of control, and the light is, you know, causing all these problems, and it's reminding us that, you know, anything used like, you know, poorly, not in moderation, like every force can be used destructively, not just you know, the void.
Yep. I was going to read a comment that ties back to the Darkmoon Fair creepiness that you were talking about.
Yep.
The question is from Heavy Harper, and he says, why is there a killer rabbit in a cave? And
exactly.
That's also a very good question.
Yeah.
I actually haven't been there since I got the pet myself. Does it still one-shot? Like, is it still strong?
I believe it's still strong, and it still has the, menacing sounding ability. And that is a Monty Python reference. But yeah, it's like, why is there, Blizzard made a choice to have these very strange things part of the fair, as opposed to, like well, they do have a popcorn vendor, but they, why do they put these really dark things there as well? Oh yeah, like the inky black potion too. Hello, baby. No, we're talking about a bunny, not a cat. Can I pick you up?
Don't forget about me, Mom.
I would never.
They're all cats.
Oh, baby, why are you gigantic? The other cats on the show are tiny, but you are humongous.
Yeah, he's almost same size as you.
Right,
He's a real tiger.
You want to be a lap cat for like a minute? Come on, baby. Ugh. Okay. Maybe this. Maybe this will work.
Nope.
Maybe. I was also going to mention that the inky black night potion, which looks really cool with screenshots, actually talks about using ingredients from the Shadowlands. So you're like, oh, that's kind of creepy. Why does the Darkmoon Fair get potions from the Shadowlands? Like, something is up here. But yeah, were there any other changes that stood out to you? I think those were the ones that seemed interesting for me. But, the presence of undocumented changes, just to clarify, doesn't mean that Blizzard is doing bad patch notes. Normally they don't put in the notes that, so-and-so got a new model. But it's just fun to highlight regardless. I think that the notes for 815 were a lot better than some of the past ones, especially the class changes, because in the past they had some pretty bad class changes, and this one was pretty spot on, I felt.
Class changes.
The only one I noticed, and it might have been in the patch notes and I just missed it, because like you said, there were a lot of patch notes. In a dungeon now, or in any instance, after you've killed a boss, the boss's icon on your map gets a little red X over it to show you which bosses have and have not been killed.
Oh yeah, I think
like
that was
a really tiny quality of life thing. Was that in the notes?
That was not. I have to add that to the undocumented notes.
I'm helping. It's like the tiniest thing ever, but it's oddly satisfying to be like, you're tanking a low-level dungeon on your new alt, and you like check open the map and you can see where you've been. You can see where you need to go. Still, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's really useful.
Yeah. I think so. I was going to say something, then I forgot about the undocumented changes. I guess it wasn't that important if I can't remember what it was.
And if you remember, you can just mention it later. It's okay. If it comes back to you.
Yeah, there was a handful of stuff, not all of the things. Oh yeah, another thing. We've seen a lot of traffic to this quest. So obviously there's the world quest that was in the patch notes about the cycle of life is cruel and now you can kill the turtles, but there's another Tortolan world quest, the calligraphy series, and there's an achievement tied to that, and it's difficult, so we're seeing a lot of traffic to that one on the site. So if you like achievements, Annie, it's basically like the rune tracing one, so you have to walk in the make your shapes and walk around. So yeah, you can do that. You can do that on stream tomorrow.
Yes, that sounds fun.
Is difficult the right word? It's
is it
not
impossible?
easy, but
yeah.
Well, the thing is, they take away the guide. Right? So they'll flash up the shape and then they vanish it. And if you step even a millimeter off of it, it fails you and it's not super apparent. I think something is a little up with it, because I found that if you stay mounted, so you're going as fast as you possibly can and you just don't stop, it's way more forgiving than if you just try to do it on foot or while walking. But I did it on PTR and I couldn't even finish it and I was very mad. And then it went live, and I tried it again. And it was the same thing. It's quite a frustrating quest. I think that's part of the reason why it'll get a lot of traffic, is because people will try it and go, "How on earth am I?
How do you do this? Wowhead, please tell me."
Help, Wowhead.
Yes.
Have fun.
Oh, it sounds great. No, that actually sparked my interest. I want to do that.
I mean, I'm sure even if you fail, stream chat will be like cheering you on, or find how you're failing funny.
I mean, even if I make it, they'll still make fun of me. So. It's like, it makes no difference. No, but I love those kind of things. So I'm looking forward to that. How do you find it?
It's just a type of world quest.
Oh, it's just a world quest. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Another topic that has strong feelings, obviously, is we have a follow-up on the portal removals. That was the thing I wanted to mention. So some portals were removed, but they added NPCs that can port you to the Blasted Lands. So it's not a total horrific loss there. You can still get to the Blasted Lands pretty easily. So that was a cool undocumented change. But yeah, going back to portals, I wrote this guide over the weekend being like, hey, these are the ones that are removed that you can't get to anymore. Here's why you might want to go to that area, or maybe it's actually not a big deal to lose it. And it was a really popular article, so I just wanted to spotlight that. I know everyone is making a big deal of Caverns of Time, but when I was writing the stuff up, I feel like Vale might be a bigger loss because there's just so much to do there, and there aren't as many portals in Pandaria, which is a big area. And at least with Caverns of Time, you have, Uldum close by, as well as the, teleporter to Gadgetzan.
So wait, where was the portal to Vale before?
It was just like the capital cities.
Okay.
And now there's just the Jade Forest portal, which is it's just farther away. And Pandaria zones are really gigantic, so it just was nice having it in the capital city because there was a lot of stuff. There were the quartermasters there. There's a lot of rares there that you could farm for various things. There were like specific pet trainers there. There are recipes from the caches that were underground. The Alani stuff was there. So it feels like it's that area is now the most isolated from other stuff. It's a really pretty area too. Well, I mean, the cities are pretty, even though the zone's blown up.
Yeah, no, MOP was one of my fun expansions, so going back there always makes me feel happy. So having a portal to Jade Forest is very off because it's in the far east, and if you want to go somewhere on the west side, that's going to be a lot of flying.
I also really liked someone on Wowhead left a comment saying, wouldn't it be cool if we could pay some gold to get a teleport to the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, because like maybe you would have to have an achievement in order to get it, and it could be tied to, we're trying to rebuild the Vale and we're trying to raise funds, and between your you've shown your loyalty by contributing to the cause and doing all these quests and being exalted with us. So I don't know, maybe if you're exalted with Golden Lotus and you, purchase a special item or whatever, then you could teleport there, and it could make lore sense without, opening up to everyone.
It could even be an item like a neck or something that you click on to get there.
Yeah, I think that could be a good compromise. But I feel like there's a lot of stuff in Pandaria, and the portals are pretty spread out. Maybe at the time they didn't think about that because there was the challenge mode ports that got coverage pretty well, but you can't get the challenge mode ports anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff. I mean, Blizzard's always like, we need new content for people to do, but it's like, well, you could go back and do Tillers for a few weeks and gain rep, or farm the world bosses, in Kunlai and Valley of the Four Winds, or do the landfall quests. And those are things that players that weren't around 5 years ago might not actually know about, and now it's very unapparent there are cool things to do in other zones.
Another thing I noticed, we said that they mentioned Ironforge being added, it's not intended for Ironforge to not be there in the hub in Stormwind, but I couldn't see it.
It's in. Yeah, that was weird. They just put it back into Borellos. Like originally,
okay.
The port left in Borellos was the Stormwind one, but they just reversed that. There's also an Exodar portal in Borellos now too, so you can get there from there or from Stormwind.
Okay.
Because there's so much to do out there.
Yes, more than Vale of Eternal Blossoms for sure.
I had this interesting theory that, my coworker Neri did. I'm trying to write something up. It's just taking research that maybe the Azuna portal in Legion, maybe more story will be coming there because Prince Ferrandi stood up to Ashara, and that's why his people were turned into ghosts. And that zone also has the Eye of Ashara instance. So we're speculating that maybe more stuff is coming to Azuna in the future. And that's why they necessitated that, because it seems weird it didn't go to someplace like, Suramar or the Broken Shore instead.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Also, I wanted to touch upon what you brought up before, Hazel, about the dark iron mole machines. In writing this article, I realized that the Druid Dreamwalk and dark iron mole machines are really OP, and they leave you off at a lot of the areas now inaccessible with portals. So, for example, if you need to get to northeastern Eastern Kingdoms and your alliance, you now have you can take the Dreamwalk option and then take the Dreamway to Hinterlands and, you know, get there pretty quickly. Or if you're a horde that needs to get to Karazhan, whatever, you can Dreamwalk and then get to Duskwood, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, yeah, because Dalaran Crater Portal is gone, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that, you know, it's just good to know that there are those things. And the Mole Machine can take you to a lot of places. I mean, they're in basically all zones. Even, you know, Pandaria has a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
So also, you know, the guide covers things like, you know, there's the teleportation item to Karazhan. There's, you know, heartstones to certain places. All, you know, all little things you can farm to make things easier that you may not have thought of needing before, but, you know, maybe now you'll look for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Also, I wanted to touch a little bit on speculation. There was not any PTR builds. Usually we have like a PTR segment on the show, but there was some miscellaneous data that I took a closer look at when I was writing up 815 coverage, and I think there could be an interesting quest maybe coming closer to 8.2. And again, kind of goes back to the idea that maybe something is up with different factions among the undead, or unrest or something is coming. So Dark Ranger Velonara, who if you play a hunter was in the Hunter Hall as the Dark Ranger representative. Back in Legion, she had this sort of like weird friendship flirty thing going on with Death Hunter Morgoth, and she was talking about how she sort of doesn't really like being undead, and she wishes she had feelings, and she was at peace, but then, like, you know, Sylvanas resurrected her, and she feels bad for him that she can't, you know, reciprocate the feelings that he'd like, but she still gives him, you know, her cowl as a token of affection. And those two are back in the data with this initial quest and map hinting that she goes to Tirisfal Glades because her apprentice has, like, a crisis, and somehow ends up in the Scarlet Halls, which is bad news because the Scarlet Crusade hates the undead, and she used to be the quest giver that ordered the attack on the Scarlet Monastery. So we couldn't figure out how to start this. We couldn't get very far, but we have these different quest data mined, which imply that the Alliance and Horde will both help, not just the Horde. Like, there's different versions that say different things. There's a special option if you are a hunter, but the quests imply that non-hunters can get it too, because Morgoth is like, greetings, like, I am from the Hunter Hall. I have heard good things about you. Like, he doesn't sound like, you know, they know each other beforehand. Yeah, we don't know what happens, but it seems that she's in the Scarlet Halls, and if the Alliance is helping this Dark Ranger, it kind of furthers the theory that maybe something's going to happen with the Alliance undead option in the future. If now the undead are trying to be portrayed as sympathetic as well, not just, you know, Sylvanas.
Oh, that's interesting. Build some more reason for an undead allied race.
Most of the comments on Wowhead were just like arguing about, like, they're like, oh, Sylvanas looks evil again, which was a little sad to focus on that, but it got me thinking that it might be worth re-highlighting some more of the kind of creepy, interesting exchanges in Legion if people didn't really take it seriously at the time. And, you know, I'm highlighting dialogue that's 3 years old, and people are like, oh my god, like, she said she didn't like Sylvanas, this is crazy. And it's like, hey, this isn't new. She said that 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, she said that she didn't really like being undead. So, I don't know, it might be fun to go back and be like, hey, so those Doomsayer pamphlets said that Andrin and Sylvanas were bad leaders 3 years ago. That's relevant now. Stuff like that. I'm trying to think if there's any other... Yeah, Brightpaw. Come on, baby.
Brightpaw is typing in the document.
Oh, I just saw that he typed a bunch of crosses and N. Come on. No, you're not going to type anything.
He's trying to talk to us.
Yes. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, baby.
Oh.
Come on, baby.
Articles.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna attack my dolls now. Right, Paw.
Oh.
You can't do that, BB. Now everyone's seeing your cat butt on the show. That's not very flattering. Come on, Fred.
He's trying to join the giveaway. Yeah, maybe he is.
Oh no! Oh no! He's gonna. There he.
Uh-oh.
There he is behind me.
Ooh, okay, change of plans.
Okay.
She's a safe.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that actually is a good tie-in. Last call for the giveaway. We're giving away a Pepe plush.
Mm-hmm.
With the keyword burb, BIRB. And
BIRB. There. Wowhead is now entered as well.
Yep. We've got a Pepe here. We're not giving a traveler, we're giving away a regular one.
Mm-hmm.
And also to remind you, these are actually, the Pepes are now on sale at the Blizzard shop. They weren't for a while, but they're back now. But yeah, as we wrap things up, we wanted to touch, of course, on the classic WoW news, which was, I think, pretty well received this week.
Yes,
so
people have been
just,
very happy.
Wrap it up on a high note. Yeah, so basically the news was that they had 4 phases initially of content, and some of the content felt crammed together in ways that didn't make sense. For example, like Dire Maul has really good loot, but it was opening at the same time as Molten Core, and that didn't really feel true to the experience of having that overpowered loot available during progression. So Blizzard said they are swapping it to 6 phases, more staggered, and they are paying more attention to things like itemization changes. So for example, there's this big itemization update in patch 1.10, and like new BOEs were added as part of the AQ War campaign that were also powerful. And they're saying that the itemization thing and all those no BOEs will happen in a later content patch. So you won't be able to get, end of classic amazing BOEs as you're progressing in Molten Core, which I think is really good. And I think it shows the care they're putting into making classic WoW an authentic experience.
I've got a quick table here to give you guys an idea of how they presented the different phases at BlizzCon 2018 and how the new proposed phases look like.
Yeah, they still don't have a release schedule, so we don't know how quick these will be coming out. They also say they don't know how PvP will fit into this yet, which is a big one. But it does show that they are, listening to feedback and are really, striving for authenticity. They're not just trying to group things together and, call it a day. They're trying to appeal to people that enjoyed progressing how it was back in the day. So yeah, I think you're not the biggest not that you don't like classic, Hazel, but I don't think like classic is your favorite thing. I remember you did a video being like, only time I'm playing is the demo, but do you have any thoughts on this, or are you just like classic's cool, but I'm more like in BFA?
You're correct. I am more of a retail person, which I think is fine. I'm really glad that classic is there for people that want it. My only question about that is I'm curious about what happens after they release all 6 phases. I'm just obviously that's pretty far in the future, but that's just a big question mark.
Yeah,
I'm interested to find out where they go.
I wonder if they could do Diablo style seasons where they just reset it again. Or I wonder if they'll continue. Maybe they'll do Burning Crusade. What I think would be cool, which I don't think is going to happen, but they were talking about how like the Dragon Isles were meant to be in there at launch, and Karazhan was originally meant to be in classic. I think it would be cool to, have a patch being like, this was meant to be in classic, but it didn't happen. Like here's like the all, it's like Karazhan remix in a sense, but that would actually mean development time, and it would get really weird, like having to develop things to make it feel like it did 15 years ago. But I don't know, I think it would be a cool what if to experience. Also, I'm pretty sure the Dragon Isles are getting repurposed in BFA or the patch after BFA, but I don't know. I think that would be a cool like what if scenario, like things from classic we didn't explore, like a Shara Crater or Dragon Isles patch. That could be interesting, but that would also not really scratch the itch of people that like progressing under the classic system. That would, like if you care about things being pure as they were, that's the opposite of being pure. But I don't know. I think it would be cool to come back for archival purposes. I guess for the people doing this competitively, having seasons could make it more of like an esports or a leaderboard type thing. Maybe people would do speed runs trying to race to get their characters geared up and clear the instances as fast as possible, almost like challenge modes, and that could reset every few months. That could be something.
Yeah, I'm sure they have different plans depending on how the interest and success seems to be. Because I'm sure they have already thought about turning it into some kind of TBC server as well at some point. But I don't think they've made any final decisions yet.
Yeah, TBC could be interesting, especially if it happened. Well, Legion already is over, but it makes sense with Legion being like, oh, like this is how Illidan and everyone interacted. Although they've retconned so much that maybe it would confuse people, but I think it would be interesting to I don't know, let people see the expansion that inspired Legion in some sense. But yeah, also a topic that wasn't in the notes that is now in the notes is the Hearthstone expansion that was revealed just a few hours ago.
Yes.
There is an expansion called Rise of Shadows, and I'm not the biggest Hearthstone player, but I really like following along with all the cards and cute stuff because the cards are super cute, and I just like the happy aesthetic and like the music and the trailers and the art. And I always really think it's interesting. Yeah. I love how the you see WoW characters like reimagined in different universes in Hearthstone, but then there's also hints of Hearthstone things that come to WoW, like the Tortolans came from Hearthstone first. And then the what's it called? Oh yeah, then N'Zoth's like art and his involvement in Ashara and the Emerald Nightmare, that was confirmed in Hearthstone first. So even though it's not canon, I feel like both games have this very cool relationship with how the stories develop. And this one plays right into that because it's called Rise of Shadows. And you're like, oh, we've never heard Shadows before in BFA. And what's really cool, it kind of, this to me feels like, what if, you know, we defeated the Legion and there was never a faction war? Could stuff still get bad? And I think the answer is yes, because in this expansion, the 5 villains from past Hearthstone games come back and are working together. And it seems based on the cards that like you can kind of like support them. You can, and based on the text, like you can choose to be evil and support them in their mission to attack Dalaran. And I was like, oh, so even without the faction war, somehow we are inspired to help the villains out. We have a choice to be the bad guys. And one of them is related to the old gods, and she talks about her old god magic coming back. So we're like, oh, great. Like, old god whispers, it's a party. And there's really interesting details looking at the materials. The Nightborn flowers are on the game board. There was a teaser for the single-player adventure with Vulpera and Sethrak. They're riding the Darkmoon Fair mount over to Dalaran. Nomi is back as not Mop Nomi, but like Legion cooking Nomi is back as well. So it's very clearly Legion Dalaran. And what's super interesting and sad is that Kaligos is obviously not evil. He's a defender of Dalaran. And in the background of his new card art, Dalaran is burning. So to me, this feels like a weird AU where it's like, we've got this story that starts with a major city burning, and for whatever reason, we have this player choice to, you know, make some unsavory choices and not just side with the people that are more, you know, morally right for a change. And it's, you know, the Nightborn are around. In this version, the Nightborn are obviously in Dalaran, not with the Horde. The Vulpera are still around. The Sethrak are still around. The Dragonflights are still doing stuff. You know, it's Year of the Dragon. So it's this very interesting parallel, and I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. They said with Hearthstone that the story will continue for the entire year. So the villains will keep going to different places. And if you want to know like actual information, not just like, is this cool? I'm gonna go bright for a second. It's coming out. I'm on Hearthstone Top Decks, and it has a white screen, so that's where I'm bright. I'm just reading the info. The release date is April 9th. You can pre-release April 5th. Single player content's coming in May, but we don't know what that entails yet. Obviously 135 new cards. You can get different pre-order bonuses like legendaries, a new priest hero who was the fortune teller from the Old Gods expansion, which I'm sure you know is totally not significant, you know, with WoW and all the Old God hints. And yeah, our sister site Hearthstone Top Decks, which is also part of the umbrella of Fanbyte sites, you know, is dedicated to covering Rise of Shadows. So they'll be covering all the card reveals and like real stuff, telling you how to play. But on Wowhead, we'll probably do some articles talking about how this like ties in or just, you know, playfully interacts with the lore we know in WoW. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool tying it to Dalaran. It's sort of like, well, what if we defeated the Legion and we all just were hanging out in Dalaran and history repeated itself and there was still a shitty, you know, war and we decided to go with the villains with some reason. I think that's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I apologize for the random Windows sound. I clicked something and then it just happened. But nothing should be broken. Everything seems to be running as it should, so no panic. If you're wondering if it's you or the stream, it's the stream.
I think Nomi did it.
I think so too.
Yes.
Yes.
On fire.
I was looking at Chef Nomi in that moment, so
yes.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
I just
want to know more about him. Like, he went from being like very like calm. He was giving us like feasts in Mr. Pandaria, and now he just burns everything. Like, what happened to him?
I saw one of the other cards.
He keeps trying.
Yeah, I know. Like, never give up. Keep going.
What were you saying, Annie?
Yeah, I saw this card Caligos, and it's it feels really strong. Or I don't know if it's strong. I don't play enough Hearthstone to know if it's strong, but it sounds like a really cool card. It says your first spell each turn costs 0, and at the same time you also discover. Actually, no, you don't discover a spell every time. You discover it once. Okay.
Well, it is a legendary, so it is meant to be strong. So, it's in contrast. So the cards related to the League of Evil, it's all like, oh, you know, like I am the legendary evil warlock. So it's like, well, on the other side of the League of Evil is the Defenders of Dalaran, and you know, Caligos is meant to be the OP card, you know, representing the other side of the faction. But yeah, we'll probably be getting a blitz of cards coming soon. Also, a neat Hearthstone tie-in is that the Ungoro micro holiday is, I believe, this weekend, and that's the it's really funny how Hearthstone did the expansion based on Ungoro dinosaurs. Then WoW was inspired to celebrate it by making the Ungoro micro holiday with a bunch of little references to the Hearthstone card effects. And then like months after that, they added the Tortolans from the Hearthstone card experience. So like the lore keeps bouncing back and forth. So it's good timing with how they just released this, and now people are talking more about, you know, the parallels between Hearthstone and WoW. The guy in charge of the narrative, Dave Kosak, the lead narrative designer, he was involved in WoW's lore and story for development for a really long time. I think he moved to Hearthstone in either Warlords or Legion. So, you know, they've got people that, you know, really are passionate about the WoW, you know, the WoW world, making it translate into Hearthstone well.
Something that I liked with Blizzard games in general, like we saw it with HOTS as well, just how the worlds kind of collide with each other. You see characters in different games. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that is about it for our notes. Right paw, turn my screen off. I think we have a giveaway winner. And yeah, that's actually really cool. The person who won, like, had some cool stuff happen to them last week.
Kenthund is the giveaway winner, and he is also the person who won the roulette last week and bought himself the physical items from the Wowhead shop using all of these points. So it seems like he's a very lucky guy.
Yeah, he's like the poster child for participating in these sorts of things.
Indeed. Congratulations on your new Pepe plushie.
Also, I think we have another subscriber. Unless you want to read we can read that now,
yeah, sure, I can mention it. Flop Squirrel apparently subscribed for 7 months in a row. So thank you so much for that. That's a pretty long time of supporting. Yeah, the notes themselves have come to an end. Do we have any questions?
We have a few. Ultra Nick XZ is asking, have we talked about the island expedition quest items in the context of the current WoW story? We actually did last week. We did this article called Secret Stories of Bfa, and we talked about the mission table and how the war is still going on in Eastern Kingdoms, even though it's not really covered in quests. And then we also talked about the islands things, and we broke them down by like, oh, this talks about goblins, this talks about old gods, this talks about elementals, and there's some really dark stuff going on there. There's obviously the really popular old gods one, but there's even things like talking about the elementals being upset with us, talking about how some forces of life see us as being kind of crappy and or okay with us dying. There's things that sound pretty normal that can also go the opposite way. Like there's someone that works with Gallywix who is a gnome. But we basically broke down every single one, even the ones that on the surface seem kind of and actually found interesting details on all of them that are covered in that article. We also probably, if there's no crazy news going on, we'll probably have one analyzing the Dragonflight ones in more detail tonight. That's already written. It just got pushed back when the Hearthstone expansion appeared, which was actually not bad timing because it's like, oh, Year of the Dragon expansion. Here's the Dragonflights. Yay. Webpage not found is asking if we can get heritage armor if you're a blood or night elf demon hunter. There is no night elf heritage armor yet, but the blood elf one is available to all races.
Yes.
And there's like less weird restrictions on blood elf and dwarf heritage armor than there are on allied races. You don't need to unlock shit and do leveling requirements. You just need to be max level, I think.
It's only the new allied races that require those. Well, it's only the allied races, full stop.
Yeah.
that requires you to level them from 20 to 110.
Yeah. Aegis, I think we covered this kind of, Hazel, but he wanted to know among the following things, what aspect of the game do you enjoy the most, PvP or PvE, and anything more specific, like do you enjoy arenas or Mythic Plus? So I know we talked about collections, but if you have any of those other topics you really like, feel free to talk about them too. I know you do the raid guide.
Yeah, no, I do raid. I'm part of a heroic raiding guild, so I enjoy that quite a lot. I do separately queue arena. I used to stream it, and I don't anymore. And I'm thinking about doing it again, but it's very scary.
Yeah,
Manny's very brave.
it is scary.
And I enjoy them both, but I enjoy them in very different ways. They're very different activities. They almost feel like different games to me. And I enjoy them with different people too. So they're all good, but they're fun in different ways. I'd probably give the edge to raiding. If I had to quit one, I would probably quit arena. Raiding's a little bit more happy. But they're all good.
Yeah. This one, if you it's sort of more businessy, but the Rumor 18 was asking, there's always like challenges with YouTube going on, like there's like demonetization scandal. They just were curious about like some of the challenges of being on YouTube, or how your setup is. So if you want to talk about like, where you are, just remind people like ways to support you, like what's your current setup, like where do you stream, how like I know if you have a Patreon that you're saying is actually like like $1 is worth like a ton of page views. So if you want to talk about that a little bit, that would be cool.
Yeah. So I think one of the things with YouTube, especially as a full-time, I do it full-time, is that even if your views are the same month to month, which they're usually not, but even if they are, your the amount that YouTube pays you per 1,000 views can vary massively. Like you can get paid twice as much during certain months, and then another month rolls around and it's like a third of that. And that's an interesting thing to have as your paycheck, especially when for taxes you're estimating your tax payments and they're asking, well, how much are you going to make? I'm like, I don't know. So I'm really lucky to have a lot of people that support me on other platforms. Like there's things like Patreon, like Perk mentioned. For that we have things like where I draw a little terrible because I'm not an artist, but I draw like little notifications in my screen. That never happens. Wallpapers of like battle pets, and then I give those out to patrons and like channel members and stuff like that. And then I live stream as well on YouTube. So I do that Tuesday mornings and Friday afternoons, and people will come and chat and hang out, and it's it's free, but people will also there's like super chats and memberships, which are kind of like just donating in bits, and subs on Twitch. So it's a lot of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just very unstable, but I'm lucky enough. My husband has a very stable job, so if it's a little up and down, we're not going to be, you know, the cat can still eat.
No, yeah, that's good. At least there's stability. I think.
Yeah, I feel like the digital age advertising is like very unintuitive. So, for example, like we've discussed this too, Annie. Like January and February, just the way, like the amount you get per page view or, you know, ad playing to your viewers, it could be the same, but it's just so much lower than December, because December is like the big, you know, Christmas spending month, and then everyone's like, oh, budget, I'm not going to spend anything. So then advertisers like value their campaigns less, and it's this chain reaction. But yeah, I feel like having like season 2 in January was kind of weird, because that hit when like everyone is very, you know, like I'm going to go to the gym and not spend money and play WoW. So that was kind of odd timing. But yeah, then as like the year gets on, like the summer is always really big, you know, there's summer blockbusters, or, you know, Christmas is always really big. So it's very weird with ups and downs trying to predict stuff. I totally sympathize.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think that's about it with questions. So, you know, last call, if you have any questions, let Sass know. We will try to answer them. I think that's about it in the chat.
All right.
I'm also losing my voice.
Yeah, as Hazel mentioned, she is mostly found on YouTube. HAZELNUTTYGAMES is the name, and you can also find her on Twitter. Apparently, Twitter can be intimidating sometimes, so you know.
Yeah, give her a Twitter hug.
Yeah, I think you should all give her a Twitter hug. Why not?
Yeah.
It's just fish pictures.
Someone mentioned in the chat actually that your background looks, I can't even say it as nicely as he put it, something about how it looks aesthetically pleasing. Oh, he said, Hazel, your setup looks so aesthetically pleasing with those cute fishies on each side and then a heart. And I have to agree, it looks amazing. Those,
yeah, it's
the
very
World of
welcoming.
Warcraft posters, the plushies, and the light effect behind the couch, the fish. What's it called? Fish tanks? Is it called fish tanks?
Yeah,
Yep, they're aquariums.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that I can share those, because, you know, with a dog, you can walk it and people say, oh, okay, can I pet your dog? And you do that, but I can't walk my fish. So I just they'll show them to people. I'll be like, oh.
Yeah. Your cat is amazing too. Like, she's so calm. She just like sat on your lap, and Bright Paw's like,
yeah.
all over everything. Yeah.
We saw Luna for 2 minutes. She was on the pillow on my lap for about 2 minutes, and then she was gone. She passed by to eat a little bit of food as well, and then she's gone again. Yeah, she has a crazy, very, very busy life, you know. A lot of walls to climb. But yeah, Hazel, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really nice having you here. And just a little side note, the timing was very interesting today. So apparently the US have changed time zone. Not what is it called? Not time zone, but time shifted
daylight
because
savings.
of daylight savings.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which means that Perk and Hazel, I assume as well, was 1 hour ahead of me. So when they were like, "Yeah, like we're ready, let's go," I was like, "Wait, what do you mean? Isn't the show in 1 hour?" Because for us in Sweden that hasn't happened yet, so that was interesting. But now that we know that, next week we will continue with the US time, meaning you can expect the show to be an hour earlier if you are EU, at least for another 2 weeks until we have our daylight savings time. So just a note. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show in case the timing confused people. But there we go. That's what actually happened. That's why we were kind of like early for a normal show, but we were late for the US people. We were like there in the middle.
Yeah,
somewhere.
someone was tweeting being like, wow, like you guys are starting early today. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. I was like,
I saw a comment in the chat too.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I hosted the show and then see people in my offline chat like, oh, Wowhead is early today. But no, we were technically late if you live in the US. So yeah, just a little fun fact for interesting time things that happen in different time zones. But yeah, thank you so much, Hazel, for coming in. It was lovely having you here and telling us about all the things that you do. It's always very nice you know, talking to and learning about other people in this industry is always very, very nice. And I love that you're all into the battle pets as well, because I am interested in those things too. So yeah, I mean, I'll be sure to check out more of Hazel's videos, and I hope you guys do too in the chat or in YouTube. I actually noticed
Hazel
there was
actually she wrote the BFA leveling guide on Wowhead, so we've got her video and her tips in our leveling menu, and she did a battle pet spotlight as well, I think. So yeah, you know, we love working with Hazel. She does really cute guides.
Yes.
And I like pets and mounts, and yeah, like a lot of really similar things to what we like too. So.
And we all have a cat, except my cat is never appearing. But yeah, that was also
my
a fun
cat
little
destroys
detail.
everything. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to everyone in the chat for supporting, for being around. Thank you again to all the subscribers. I hope you guys feel appreciated that we give you guys little shout outs here and there. I hope you guys like the new system with the nether shards that we're doing. Well, the system itself is old, but now you can actually use the points for something instead of just rouletting it into nowhere, into the twisting nether. Yeah, thank you guys for everything. And thank you for all of you guys who may be watching from the Wowhead front page as well. If you...
Yeah, thanks for your support in 815. We've seen so much, you know, engagement, you know, traffic to our allied race guides or class guides or Brawler's Guild guides. So, you know, thanks for supporting the site and spreading the word with the guides to your friends. We really appreciate it.
And today is one of those days when Wowhead Weekly is actually reminding me of things. Like, I need to go and do my Brawler's Guild. And I need to find that world quest, which apparently is tricky. So, yeah, thank you for that. Now I know what I'm going to do next.
I didn't know the Magni quest had item levels for your neck. I should get on that. I was going to put that on for a long time.
There you go. But yeah, thank you to everyone. And, oh, Luna's here, maybe?
Oh, yay.
And we'll see you guys next week, same time. Or same time if you're US, an hour early if you're EU.
So we always do this. We always do a hand. We always do like a high five at the end. So what three people is it? Is it this side or the other side?
For you, it's the other side. Perk, other side. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So what we do is we count down to 3, and then we like put our hand out, and it sort of works.
I think
it's very hard.
Do you mind using 2 hands so you can high five both me and Perk? Same sides, but one is low, one is high.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Yes.
Yay!
We did it. Yes. Luna's like walking back and forth, like, "What are you doing, human? Why is your hand up there?"
Why is Perk hitting her desk? Oh, we got Brightpaw back in the room too. Brightpaw, do you want to come up and say goodbye? Or are you just gonna stare here and be a diva?
Always a diva.
He's like, I'm right here, but I'm not going to be on the camera as you're saying goodbye. And I'm just like, come on, Brightpaw.
Oh, look at her.
Well, we have Pepe if we don't have Brightpaw. Pepe is very cute. All right, Pepe.
Yes, he is. But yeah, see y'all next week, same time or similar time, and take care.
Oh, we got a Brightpaw.
Then. Oh,
yes,
he did come.
Yeah,
there we go. That was a quick wave with the tail right there.
Yeah,
that's it.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.